Okay, welcome to the Space and Rocket Review. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Space and Rocket Review. You two chats. You in the hat. Tell your friends. One night only. Space and Rocket Review. Can you please send a link of that song? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's Confederate flags off of the Hearts of Iron soundtrack. I will link it up in both chats. What's going on, everybody? I am EJ, host of wrong screen. I'm EJ, host of the Space and Rocket Review. That's why the name down there says EJ Space and Rocket Review. It is mine. Do you understand the concept of the space news? This is my space news. You understand because it's got my name in it. Space and Rocket Review. Hey, off topic, but what the heck? Wow, Tessa, we've been live with this space news segment for less than 2 minutes. And, yeah, off the rails already. All right, what's on your mind? 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark out, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. What the hell? Is Linus? I am so confused. What is happening? What is that? Oh, Mighty Car Mods. What the heck? Rollers. News. What's your news? Oh. Whoa. That's sick, Josh. All right. We're that one's going. We got to talk about that thing. That thing is cool. Oh, I want it. All right. And then a new HLS render. Yeah, we still got to go over those HLS renders, huh? Yeah. All right. You're walking the walk. Yeah, yes, I am. I'm walking the walk, talking the talk. Hop, skip, and a jump through the forest to grandmother's house we go. All right. Let's, let us tomato. Okay, so I'm going to go through some quick news here, and then we'll get to the FAA document too. Yes, I need to put that at the end. Boop. Yeah, so you'll probably want to watch that Linus Tech Tips and the accompanying Mighty Car Mods vid when you get off tonight. Very cool stuff. But I want to watch a guy rebuild a combine harvester. Dang it. Dang it, Bobby. Okay, so let me just make sure that all this stuff is kind of where it needs to be. That can go right there. I'm trying to get all the Starship stuff together. You don't need that one. That can go there. There's all the Starship stuff. All right, cool. So we will start with this morning. This morning there was another Falcon launch. It was Falcon 9 Starlink 6-66, and I'm not saying it any other way. It did launch from Pad 40, and it was everything went fine. It's a good mission. First stage landed on a short fall of gravitas, and the Starlink satellites were deployed. But we did get some really bomb footage here from SpaceX. That's yummy. Whoa, Shenra with a huge raid. What's going on, buddy? We're here to absorb your space and rocket reviews. Oh, you they're my space and rocket reviews. I need them. That's yummy. Newglands is rising. Yes, we'll get that into a second. Guys, if you, on the Twitch end of things, because we're simulcasting, on the Twitch end of things, if you don't know my buddy Shenra, give him a shout out. Shenra is a great old school Twitch streamer. Some of the few of us that's left that just, actually like plays video games, like, because everybody gotta be doing these news shows on this gaming website. Those putzes. Hey. Anyway, no, give Shen a follow. He's an excellent streamer. Been doing it for a long time, just as long as your boy. Actually, I think Shen, you might have been doing this longer than I have. But anyway, he's a good streamer. Give him a follow. Also, look at this Falcon 9. That's nice. This was the launch from this morning. This was Starlink 6-66. Oh. That makes me feel feelings. That's pretty good. That's pretty neat. So, interesting thing about this mission. The fairings that were used on Starlink 6-66, all right, were the first fairings to be used 21 freaking times. The fairings are the aerodynamic shell that's at the top of the vehicle. You see it separate right there. If we go back and look at these other pictures, that's this thing at the front. That's the fairing. It's called a clamshell style fairing. So you have two halves, and what it does is it aerodynamically shields the payload. Satellites don't need to be aerodynamic because where they operate, there's no air. So they put them inside of a shell. The shell is called a fairing. SpaceX does reuse their fairings. The fairings separate and then they parachute back down. They're so light that you don't really need to worry about re-entry heating with them too much, right? So, I mean, they do have some thermal protection on it up at the nose where it does get warm. But those fairings, one of those fairings is the fleet leader at 21 flights, 21 fairing reuses. Pretty cool. Today also marked the 400th 400th Falcon 9? Yep, 400 Falcon 9 launches. How many of those have you guys seen? I've easily seen over 350 of them. Easily. I'd say I'm like above 350. Like seeing them live. I've watched every one. I've watched every one. Seeing them live and covering them, yeah, about 350. I'd say in change, give or take. No, EJ Bad, you're married. Feelings for the rocket. Hey, the rocket isn't people. It's fine. Apart from the ones you slept through. Nice, Tessa. Yeah, hey, keep up the bad work. All right. Anyway. Yeah, awesome mission. But I think we might have some breaking news. Some breaking news. Let's see. Oh, this is a shot from our buddies over at NASA Spaceflight on the Space Coast live stream. That is a shot of Launch Complex 36, where you can see Newglen's. The Blue Origin's New Glenn launch vehicle being verticated. That's an industry term. Being verticated on the pad. Full rocket, full flight article. Being verticated on the pad for the first time. Oh, hold on. Say it with me, chat. Newglen's. So, the New Glenn rocket, guys, if you're not familiar with it, here. What is this? Resume your browsing session. Damn browsing session. Quiet. So, this is a little bit of an older render here, but this comparison is still applicable because the New Glenn The New Glenn's 3-stage variant is as tall as their current version, which is a 2-stage variant. They were debating splitting up the 2nd and 3rd stages, but they ended up combining it into one big freaking stage. Now, once again, here's some other rockets here. Falcon 9 is the one that launched this morning. There's Falcon Heavy. BFR is, that's not, Starship is about that big. New Glenn 2-stage, this doesn't exist. But the New Glenn 3-stage is a 2-stage vehicle. So that's how big the vehicle is. Compared to a Saturn V, SLS, Starship. It's not the biggest rocket flying, but it's almost the biggest rocket flying. And it's planned to be reusable. So this is no joke, man. This rocket it's basically, what we like to call it here on this stream is that it's a reusable Saturn 1B. So it's like it's like Saturn V's little brother, but reusable. It has a very similar throw. Throw is kind of the slang term for how much payload it can put into low Earth orbit. It is a 7-meter diameter rocket. That upper stage is the biggest upper stage flying, with the exception of Starship. If you want to call Starship an upper stage. But yeah, New Glenn's is no joke, and I'm super happy that we have 3 super heavy launch vehicles in development right now. SLS, New Glenn, and Starship. That's pretty freaking cool, dude. But there it is. Courtesy of NASA Spaceflight, go give them a subscription on their YouTube channel. If you're not, there it is right there. If you want to watch more live coverage of New Glenn's being verticated, I suggest you go over there and watch. They have live streams of the Space Coast, live streams from Starbase, live streams from McGregor, where SpaceX does all their testing. Do we consider Starship a space plane? No. Graham, I wouldn't call it a space plane. Starship is a reusable upper stage. That's what I would call it. It's a reusable upper stage. Yep. Yeah, New Glenn's is big, Wolion. It's big. It is a very large rocket. Like, it kind of gets understated because Starship is flying, and Starship is ridiculously big. But New Glenn, like, it cannot be understated. Like, it is not a small vehicle, you know? It is quite large, actually. Here, let me show you. This is them rolling it out from yesterday. I mean, that's on the transporter erector, the gigantic TE, right? And you can see the people over there. This is not a small piece of equipment. This is not a small rocket, Jababos. I'm Jababos. Proud bad boss. There you go. There's a picture of the stack in the hangar before they put it on the transporter erector. Look at the dudes just chilling down there. This is not a small piece of equipment. It's huge. That's what she said. It's impressive to have not one but 2 commercial super heavy, one partially reusable, the other fully reusable launch vehicles in development right now, on top of having Artemis and SLS. It's wild, dude. Hey, Savvy, 103 months. Any cameras that look at LC36? Yeah. How's that one, dude? Heard any rumors of a wet dress coming soon? They're probably going to do a wet dress rehearsal, and then they said they're going to do a hot fire as well. So that's in the coming days. Looks like one giant engine on the bottom of this. It's got 7 BE4s in it, hot dog. There's 7 engines in the first stage. 6 around the horn, 1 in the center. The engines are, like I said, they're BE4s. They are also made by Blue Origin. Those are an oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle, utilizing liquefied natural gas and liquid oxygen. That's right, not methane, LNG, which is actually super, super cool. LNG is kind of the new hotness for LNG, or methane is kind of the new hotness for rockets, because there's a lot of benefits to it. You're getting usually get higher specific impulse with it, so that it's more efficient, right? And you can also make more power with it. It's not as energetic as kerosene and liquid oxygen, but it's almost as efficient as hydrogen and oxygen too. But see, here's the thing. You could go full hydrolox, right? But if you're using full hydrogen and oxygen, Hydrogen's really difficult to manage. Methane is a lot easier to manage because it's got a big carbon atom attached to hydrogen. Methane is CH4. So methane is kind of like right in the Goldilocks zone of propellants. You can get pretty dang good efficiency and you can get pretty good energy out of it too. And once again, Nuglins is using liquefied natural gas, which is a combination of methane, butane, and I'll tell you what, boy, it's a quality burning propane mixture in there. Yeah, I tell you what, that's the damn nice stuff there, boy. No, LNG is a combination of butane, propane, and methane. In kind of how much of each is kind of, it depends on what you're doing. Tori Bruno confirmed that it's mostly methane in an answer to one of your tweets. Mostly methane is not methane, but yes, good to know. There's your answer on the mixture, like I said. Oh, glad there are public cameras. Savvy, she's a beast, dude. This thing's a freaking monster. Like, I know the hype is for Starship right now, and that's all fine and dandy, but this is really amazing. That is a big rocket. You know, I'm just happy. You know what, man? I'm greedy. We got both. We got Starship and this. Good. Please, can I have more? Give me SLS too. I'll take all of it. LNG is great because you can cook with it. You can cook with it. Right. Already covered the RS-26 in your review. XNV, what do you mean? RS-26? Ask NASA about hydrogen management. Yeah, exactly. Right. He did, Archie, with the banana for scale. I remember that. Yeah, Tori Bruno took a picture of a BE-4 and it had a banana on it. You know that Starship could be considered the most impressive propane accessory. That's the Russian news? Oh, guys, I don't want to talk about that, man. I don't want to talk about that. You guys get enough of that from social media or your news or something. We don't talk about that here. We talk about rockets. You know, I know what people are going to say, but EJ, that's a rocket too. No. A rocket that goes up, comes down, and hurts people, that's called a missile. That's different. That's a different, that we don't do that here. This is the rocket review, not the missile review. You know? Any comments on the helium supply? Yeah, I mean, friend, helium is in low supply. We'll figure out a way to make it. We can make more. I know people are going, you can make more? Yeah, of course you can make more. With enough energy, you can turn goat piss into gasoline. Do we have a way to do that right now? No, probably not. Could we figure out a way to do it? Do not underestimate us. I think humans can do it just fine. We'll figure out a way. You know, the moon has a lot of helium on it. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Anyway, what a beast, dude. Wait. I want to see if anybody replied to me. Nope. Nobody replied to my thread. Why can't we just scoop helium from the sun? A Bassard collector could do that, Bonesister, but we just don't have the dexterity and space to do that. Last France, no hat, on God. Oh. We do, actually. We could do fusion already. We just can't get to net positive energy yet. They got a word for that. Not there. Well, phrase, not there yet. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I get it. I know, iFlex. You remember that conversation that you and I had about the helium, not the helium, the fusion thing that shot, like, particles at each other? We did that whole space news about that. You, like, with you telling me about, you remember that? I remember that. Did we get a Blorgen tweet? Oh, ho, 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 ho. That is the sound a jockhammer makes. Dude. Oh, that's that. Yes. Hands. No. No, I'm... Why? Oh, dude, look at it, man. Oh, that's... Excuse my language. If you're watching with your children, just cover their ears for a second. But just, I'll give you a thumbs up when we're done. That's freaking tits, dude. It's freaking tits. Oh, that's awesome. Do you need some alone time? Yeah, I think so. Oh, that's sick, dude. What a monster. Look at that monster. Repairing. Dude. Okay. All right. You know, people, you guys are looking at this. You're like, what's the big deal, EJ? Dude, look at the... Okay. All right. You want to understand how big this sucker is? Look at the people. See the people walking around back there? See, look. See these little people? Oh, man, we even got little people. Look at the size of this damn thing. It's huge, dude. Buran levels of transporter erector. I'm in. You son of a gun. I'm in. That's Jack, you know. That's what I'm talking about. See, it's not as big as Starship, but it's almost as big as Starship. Like, this is freaking huge, dude. It's a 7-meter diameter laser, man. Yeah. Oh, I think they're going to land first try, Sevy. They'll get it. Poor Jack. Oh, guys, yeah, you know, I'm really coming around to this whole Hoppy thing. Gunny is a stupid name anyway. I'm going to call it New Glen's like everybody else. All the cool kids are doing that. Oh, thanks, Jack. What are you doing raiding my stream? Oh, I don't know. Oh, jeez. Yeah, he's here. Mr. Yak. Mr. Yak. Mr. Yak. Mr. Yak. Can it upmass a banana? Until it does, we'll probably never know. This is... No, this is 7-meter diameter, Archie. This diameter down here is, I'd say, probably closer to 9. Dude, New Glenn is not a small vehicle. I'm just so happy, dude. We've got another super heavy launch vehicle. Like, oh. Oh, that's money. That thing is, dude, it is freaking gigantic. Your transporter erector is going vertical. Yeah, so is theirs. See what I'm talking about? Hi, Vargon. You should ask ChatGPT how many bananas tall is New Glenn. Hey Siri, how many bananas tall is Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket? Nope. It brought up the article about AST Mobile. Good article, but nope. Here's what I found. Okay, here's what I found. Yeah. Got with 100 bits. Also tune in for Flame Trench on here and NSF's YouTube at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep. What is the material made of? It's an aluminum rocket. Milled aluminum is what it is, GG. Common Siri L. Is there an upgrade? Is there an upgrade path for New Glenn? Yeah, you could always, I mean, Savvy, you know the drill. You could always make it taller. Okay. This is just my personal opinion. Probably wrong about this. Don't work for Blue Origin. Savvy, if I had to guess, Blue would probably go with a wider core diameter before they extended New Glenn. New Glenn is pretty tall for its size. For a 7-meter core, pretty dang tall. Yeah, I think they would widen it. They would go with a wider core diameter before they did that. Um, like New Armstrong or something. But stretching a rocket is usually one of the easiest upgrade pathways, right? I mean, Savvy, you know this, but I haven't heard anything specific, dude, if that's what you're wondering. Yeah, what could really benefit this thing is a kicker stage. Because the fairing is gigantic on this thing. I mean, it's huge. It's just, look at it. It's as big as the second stage. That second stage is, I mean, look at it compared to the scissor lifts, man. It's no joke. That's the size of the fairing volume. You have a ton of payload space. You easily have room inside the fairing for an upper stage, for a kick stage. Is there info on any West Coast activities for Nublins? No, not that I know of. I thought that they would grab Slick 6, but SpaceX did that. Oh, yeah, Blue Ring. That's right, Thomas. Yeah, there's your... Yeah, that's right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, they're Slick 9. All right. Quick, to Google Earth. This is supposed to be the quick part of the space news segment. Just out of curiosity. Blue's going to make a new pad at Vandenberg called Slick 9. Not much is known. Do we know the location, Thomas? According to the news series, 555 bananas tall. What is New Armstrong? We don't know, Savvy. They just... Blue Origin has mentioned it a couple of times that is their next logical step. New Shepard. Alan Shepard, suborbital vehicle. New Glenn, named after John Glenn, first American to orbit the Earth. And then New Armstrong. So... the New Armstrong rocket might be larger. Slick 9's location. On location. Boop. Oh. It's looking right at it. Cool. That's really close to Lompoc Surf. Sick. So if Elon is the first man on Mars, they're screwed for the next name. Needed to know what was known. Thank you. Just gonna do that to us, Savvy? You're just gonna do that to us? Just gonna... Oh, yeah, just needed to know. Sorry, yeah, no, I know it's good, man. But also... So I know New Armstrong is there, at least on paper, in some way, shape, or form. But they keep it well under wraps, even for, you know, I get told a lot of privy information from time to time. Like, even for me, it's pretty tightly wrapped, you know, like. Even the new Shepard launches, they just pop up and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this." It's like, wait, what? You're doing what? You're doing what now? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's all right, sweet. Sounds good, man. We know you have Bezos and Musk on speed dial. Well, I'll have you know, Elon liked one of my tweets one time. So there. We're pretty much bros now. Okay, let's get through the rest of the quick stuff. So check this out. This is a picture coming from KSC. There's Orion in the vacuum test chamber. The vacuum testing chamber at Kennedy testing the Artemis 2 Orion capsule. Vac testing is like one of the last things you do before you're really good to go. Yeah, Baron, interesting. Hey, Original, what's going on? Unless they do the first woman in space in its new ride. They could call it New Bluford. Do? Hear me out. Hot stage at full stack, fully fueled New Glenn with an upgraded SLS that can lift it off the pad. That's not mission architecture. You just said stack one rocket on top of another. That's not mission architecture. That's just saying put this rocket on this rocket. It's not a thing. How long does it take to stack SLS? Well, it's good that you mentioned that. Because they started the second aft SRB segment has left the RPRSF, the rotating processing, the solid rocket booster rotating and processing facility. And it's made its way into the VAB for stacking. There's core stage 2 right there. Oh, nice going. There you go. Oh, we got video? Do we have video? We have video. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Do you think New Armstrong is Jarvis? No, I think Jarvis is a project for looking at potential feasibility for reusable second stages for New Glenns. That's my guess. That is not a hot take. That's what most people think. Oh, hello, baby. Hey, baby. I see you're solid. I am solid too. That's the bottom of one of SLS's 5-segment boosters. They're lifting it off the processing stool here, and you can see it's moving horizontally. It's moving horizontally because of the way it is. Now they're going to go up or horizontal some more. Man, be careful with that thing. That thing is heavy. Bum, 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 bum. Dum, 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 dum. Sorry, I just thought that was applicable, and I can't play it, so I'll sing it. And because I sing badly and off key, it's not going to flag it for copyright. Hey, Rob Film. You've recovered. Good to see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting there. That was ironically quite cinematic. Thank you. Yeah. I hope you get flagged anyway. Jerk.
Discovery, go at throttle.
I joined the stream and I heard AJ singing. Yep. Does the SRB gimbal? Yes, it does, Dean. The SRBs on SLS have 8.5 degrees of gimbal off of the center. So 8.5 this way, 8.5 that way. They are what's doing your steering for like when SLS and previously when the shuttle launched. The shuttle engines don't really swivel. The reason why is because the shuttle engines were tilted off 15 degrees, and you swiveling those, trying to roll with those motors would induce a yaw effect, or a yaw effect would induce a roll. So they're, having your engines that far off of your center of thrust is, yeah, the shuttle engines would just kind of, right, and they'd kind of make small correction movements like this until SRB separation, and then they really started moving around. But yeah, the SRBs are what's steering this thing. Basically, well, they're still attached. The on SLS, the 4RS-25s will take over after that. 1.7 segment SRBs on SLS, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Hey, Just Face, the stacking begins. That's right. Yep. They're attaching the SRB to its 4 hold down points, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then these drawers, I call them drawers, but these processing platforms will roll into position. The reason why I call them drawers is because they extend out like this one. They'll extend out together like that and form a deck around the different areas of the vehicle that need to be worked on. Yeah, see, there it goes. Oh, that's cool. And yes, before you ask, the floor is made out of wood. Yeah, they got hardwood flooring up in there in the VAB. Yep, hardwood flooring. Yep. Anybody know why? Am I into Legos? I used to be, Flavia. I still have Legos. I build Legos from time to time, but not really as much. I'm not like a Lego nerd, not anymore. Static electricity. Yep. Yeah, you don't want to discharge a spark on the fully fueled SRB. So yeah, making the floors out of wood prevents static electricity. You're basically grounded out on the wood. Wood floors, they really bring your VAB together. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. We got some nice cedar. Actually, that's too light to be cedar. What do you think? Any carpenters here? Maybe birch? Birch, maybe? Nice birch floors, I guess. Pine? Nah, I don't think it's... Yeah, it could be pine, maybe. Nice dick. Yeah, mate. It's a real nice dick. Look at it. You put your phallic shaped vehicle on the sides of your dick. It's perfect. It's great. It's retractable. Yeah. You know, when you want to move your big rocket away from your dick, you just retract them. You retract your dick. Sound? There's no sound with this one, man. Yeah, that's the truth right there. Hey, mate. Yeah, look at all the retractable dicks they got in this building. It's great. The vehicle assembly building. Lots of dicks everywhere. Yeah, pine is cheap out of all the woods. Yeah, it's probably pine, but it's been it looks like they stained it a little bit. Yeah, look at all the layers. Plenty of layers on your dick right there. Real nice. What bay are they in? This is high bay 3, ARJ. Yeah, high bay 3 is the only one that's configured for stacking. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. High bay 3 is configured for stacking SLS. High bay 1 is configured for stacking space shuttles. Still, to this day. After STS-135, they just said, all right, we're going to just close the door. It's fine. Yep. Hey, you want to know how I know? I got the receipts, dog. Give me 1 second. I'm scrolling through my infinite shuttle collection of pictures, okay? There's a lot of them, right? Here, you know what? Join me on this fantastic voyage. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage. All right, there you go. Yep. Still in shuttle configuration. Been in shuttle configuration for 15 years. Well, no, 13. Not, that's what it looks like. That's what High Bay 1 looked like in better times. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What else do we got in here? We got in it. Oh yeah, hang the tanks, baby. That's how they stored external tanks in the VAB. They stored them in the walls, like on a bookshelf. But it's a bookshelf for external tanks. Yeah, that's in High Bay 4. Yeah. That was an OPF. That's the Orbiter Processing Facility. It's a shuttle's hangar. There's mate demate device, mobile launcher platform, shuttle on mobile launcher platform, another MLP, MDD. That snuck in there, but don't worry about it. Concepts. I have another picture of it somewhere. Oh. See, we got some really nice pictures in here. It's in the walls. Oh yeah, dude, I want that van right there, or that K20. I'll take the K-20. You know what? Screw the van. We'll take the K-20. Or that, what is that, a 77? We'll take that. That's fine. I want the shell on it too. We'll take that. Anyway, cool. Shuttle pictures. I have tons of them. They're really awesome pictures too, by the way. But yeah, High Bay 3 is configured for SLS. There was talks, SpaceX was in talks of leasing High Bay 1 with NASA, but those talks officially ended probably about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so my Starship VAB theory was a viable pathway that SpaceX was looking at, but ultimately it's not going to happen. NASA decided they're going to use High Bay 1 for SLS, which is great. Good. That is a good step towards launching more of these things, because one launch a year is dumb. So, Lone Star, you realize that cadence will always triumph, because once a year is dumb. EJ, what is the heaviest thing the shuttle brought back? Probably the MPLM, Savvy. The multi-purpose logistics module. Can't stop looking at the booster landing. Yeah, me neither. NASA has reverted to the old plans of using High Bay 1 for SLS. Please do it. Please. Retool that sucker for SLS Block 1B. Put Artemis 4 in there, Thomas, on ML2. Whenever. Tentatively, net 2028, but seriously, if I'm looking at how this is going to pan out, it'll probably be sooner. Yeah, that LTD was baller, David. I'm with you. Blue Origin new post. All right, I'll check it. Artemis 4, retool it in 2026, 2027. Retool it for Block 1B. Artemis 4 out of there. While you're doing that, retool High Bay 3, the upper platform, the upper decks. The upper decks for High Bay 3 for Block 1B as well. And then take ML1, take it outside and scrap it. Yeah, scrap it. Yeah, I said that. Scrap it. Build another one. You're not doing anything with that thing past Artemis 3. It's junk. Or sell it. Mechazilla Mechazilla comically makes the shuttle and its huge amount of infrastructure ridiculous when you look back on it. Yeah, you got any good sleep? I got good enough, dude. That was the original plan. Get High Bay 1 for Block 1B so they could go right when they can. Yeah, that's a good idea. Somebody that knows something about systems engineering, probably came up with it, rather than, pawning it off to the lowest bidder. I mean, Thomas, personally, if I had my way, I would not be using High Bay, I would not be using High Bay 2 for core stage assembly. That's dumb. That's stupid. Assemble them horizontally in the SSPF and roll them out that way. If the engine section can fit in the SSPF, so can the rest of the core stage. Space Station Processing Facility. They ship half of SLS to the Cape, build it here, because the MPS, the main propulsion system, so the 4 engines, SLS, this thing right there, needs to be assembled in a clean room environment. So just assemble the whole stupid thing in the clean room. Whatever. Just do it. And then retool High Bay 2. I don't know, maybe put the mobile launcher, put ML1 in there while you're figuring out what the heck you want to do with that thing. Besides just let it rust, because that's what's happening after Artemis 3. It's useless, guys. It can't handle a bigger SLS. It'll literally fall over. Yeah, ML1. It was built for Ares 1 first. Like a 2.5 million pound rocket. Maybe something like that. And then somebody along the way decided to put SLS on it, which is a 8 million pound rocket. £10 of poop in a 5-pound bag. Anyway, yeah, no, ML1 is buckling under the weight because, yeah, SLS is a really heavy rocket. Really heavy rocket for the design. It seems like when they put when they came up with SLS, they didn't really understand this whole thing called weight limits, especially for the crawlerway, and that's proving to be a pretty big problem. Last, please. Were you listening to me, John? Or were you trying to get me to see your last? Look again. Anyway, wasn't there talk about using SLS for cargo? Yeah, but just theory crafting, dude. Personally, I like that idea. I like the flexibility of SLS being able to launch cargo. If it was up to me, dude, totally up to me, I would have both versions. The reason why I would have both versions, Cargo SLS or Crew and Cargo SLS, is because Crew and Cargo SLS 1B is way further in development than Cargo is. Cargo is not in development at all. So I would retool it for both of these things. So is it a crawler problem or the crawler way? It's both, Katra. The crawler transporter can't lift up. It has an upper limit of about 16 million pounds, which is pretty crazy considering what it is. SLS with Mobile Launcher 2, SLS Block 1B with Mobile Launcher 2 is approaching that. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, wait, SLS is an 8 million pound rocket. What the heck? 8 million pound rocket? That's not even close. It's not even close to the crawler transfer. Yeah, there's that whole mobile launcher thing. And that's usually, the launch pad's usually heavier than the rocket. That's part of the reason, and guys, I can't prove this, but I've been looking into it. That's part of the reason why Bechtel is having so many problems with ML2, because they're designing a mobile launcher where they know the upper weight limits, but they don't know the weight limits on the rocket that the launcher is supposed to launch because it hasn't been made yet. So you're designing in a finite window, all right? You make the mobile launcher too heavy, right? You make it too heavy, crawler transporter can't move it. If you make it lighter, like ML1, it might fall over. So there's a very narrow gap of what you can and can't make. They had to basically make the strongest and the lightest mobile launcher that NASA has ever cooked up to launch the heaviest rocket ever made. Oops. You want to know why that thing costs so much? That's why that costs so much. Also, Bechtel is kind of notorious for underbidding, but that's another story. All right, so keep going with the quick news. Sierra Space posted this. They're doing more tests on their life habitat, which is a inflatable habitat. We have successfully completed our sixth stress test and fourth ultimate burst pressure UBP test. They blew it up. They blew it up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Why didn't they make a permanent tower out at the pad like the shuttle? How? That would be a very, very tall structure. I don't know, because... Oof. Yeah, that broke. Why didn't they do that? The VAB was really designed to do this, not really what the shuttle was designed for. They were kind of returning to a clean pad design, Brendan, so they have more flexible architecture in the future. But that flexible architecture really wants you to scale liquid fuel rockets, because the whole crawler way, Complex 39, was designed for large liquid fuel rockets, not necessarily solids. Yeah, that popped. It exploded. I don't know if you knew. Now, once again, look, the reason why they have this like kind of all painted, like they have a bunch of dots on here, is so they can take a really high resolution camera, look at it, and see where it failed. You're going to see parallax at the failure point. Look. Oh, that's cool, dude. See? Look at how once you have a point of failure, the whole thing starts coming unwound. Look, see it down here? The failure point's up there. You're seeing buckling going on up here and up there. How long until we're making MLs with a considerable amount of titanium? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Uncle X, but also, it doesn't have to be this way, you know? Can you launch SLS without the SRB, say strap a Cygnus on top, like as a resupply? No, the SRBs are integral to the stack, Goalie. Yeah, no, not happening. I stepped away briefly. Did he answer my crawlerway question? How much would it take and how long would it take to redo the crawlerway to handle the heavier loads? Couple $1 billion, dude. Look, man. It's the architecture, Dean. It's the architecture. You know, this whole thing was really designed for liquid fuel rockets, and they haven't launched a fully liquid fuel rocket off of this in probably about 50 years. Actually, the last fully liquid fuel rocket to take off from Complex 39 was the Apollo-Soyuz test project in July of 1975. So, 47 years? No, 49 years. Yeah, I forgot what year it was. Sorry, that happens ever since the pandemic. I'm not sure why. Think Elon and Doge will do much changing to NASA. I really hope if they do, if the Department of Government Efficiency goes after NASA, what I really hope they do is take a look and see what I've seen over the past 15 years as a spaceflight fan. Guys, it's not the contractor's fault. NASA has no plan. That's the problem. That's always been the problem. That has been the issue. There's no plan here. We might make a rocket and we might go to an asteroid and we might do this and we might do that. And we're going to go back to the moon sometime soon. And then we're going to use that to learn how to go to, there's no concrete dates. There's no accountability. There's no national focus here for NASA. That is the underlying problem. I am hoping that if, in a couple of months down the road, they go to look at NASA, that's what they find, because that's what's going on. And that's not my opinion. That is exactly what's happening. There's no plan. If you're a contractor and NASA is coming at you with a multi-billion-dollar contract to build a rocket, right? That's cost plus with no deadline, right? No, like, okay, we need you to build this rocket, right? How much do you think we agree on a contract that's $1 billion, then it's cost plus on top of that, right? And then there's indefinite delivery, right? So it's indefinite quantity, indefinite delivery, which is a subset of a cost plus contract. What is your incentive of getting it done and being cost effective? There is none. It's not the contractor's fault completely, guys. I'm sorry. I want to dump on Boeing just as much as the next guy, but it's not. It's not. There were plans, and then they got canceled again and again and again. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it today. But there were plans, and we keep canceling. Every time somebody comes up with a good idea, we do it, and we commit to it for a little bit, and then we say, no, it's too expensive, and then cancel it, and then have a consolation prize. In this case, the consolation prize for canceling Constellation was SLS. And every time we get this consolation prize under the guise of doing it for cheaper, it ends up being more expensive and less capable. It is a trend, and it's been like this since 1972. Not cool. Not cool, bro. Not cool. Anyway. Speaking of that, here's some Gateway updates here. Gateway Lunar Space Station. They changed Lunar Space Station. Anyway, progress continues on Gateway's power and propulsion element. Maxar recently installed the fuel tanks that will help power Gateway's journey to and around the moon. That is the structural frame for the for the power and propulsion element. It's based off of a satellite bus. It's cylindrical because cylindrics are better at taking longitudinal loads during a rocket launch. And the fuel is stored in the balls. Yeah, Geek, we saved 30 billion over the next 10 years to spend 90 billion over the next 10 years. Yeah. I was reading an accountability report the other day. SLS has costed us $93 billion since 2013. We saved that 30 billion though. Everybody's reason for wanting to cancel Constellation is that it was behind schedule and underperforming. That's because it was underfunded. Even if Constellation had a 200% cost overrun, it would still have been cheaper to do that. This is what I've been saying for a decade, man. Man, I'm really not happy to be right about this, but it is kind of nice. Oh, jeez. I've been saying this for years. It's so stupid. And what's the difference? The difference is no goals. Constellation had goals. There was very clear deadlines on what to do, and when to do it, right? We don't have that with SLS. That's why SLS is so expensive. It's not the hardware. It's not this, not that. And the shuttle engines, you know what? If you deliver them, if you make more of them, the cost is going to go down, right? Propulsion is always going to be expensive. If you make more of them and you incentivize the contractor to deliver a certain quantity at a certain time with a bonus at a firm fixed price, because development doesn't need to happen. We've been using shuttle engines for years. The price will go down. Just like it's going down with Raptor. Just saying. It's weird how that works. Joker is proud of you. Yeah, right? All right, more quick updates. This is coming from Vast. Vast started taking their space station pressure vessel parts and started stir welding them together. There we go. Vast is in line for building a commercial space station and eventually building a gigantic commercial hub with a space station core at 7 meters. They're going to have a 7-meter core module, and then these modules are going to be attached to the outsides. Really, really awesome design. And there's some hardware, dude. Like I said, talk is cheap. Vast is actually producing hardware. That's what it's supposed to look like. I'll give you 3 guesses what spacecraft is. I gotta mute the promo music. I'll give you 3 guesses what spacecraft they have wanting to dock to it. So that's one of the modules that they're working on right now. What they're eventually going to do, if you notice there's a cover with a docking port on the other end, what they're eventually going to do is... Please hold. That. These are the modules that they're working on right now, and eventually they're going to have a gigantic core node. Yeah. Cygnus? Yes. Mm-hmm. Vast is good stuff, man. One of the only commercial customers I see producing space station hardware. Yeah, good stuff. This next one is coming from L3 Harris. L3 Harris is working on their new RL-10 design. L3 Harris is the company that acquired Aerojet Rocketdyne. Aerojet Rocketdyne is the company that acquired, produced RL-10s. The RL-10 has been in continuous production since 1962, right? And this new variant right here, which is the RL-10CX, or the CX was its experimental name. Now it's the RL-10E1, a new version of the RL-10. This RL-10 is utilizing a ton of 3D printing instead of the brazed tube design of past RL-10s. You guys want to know how they made RL-10s up until this point? Take a look. Every RL-10 up until this point basically took a bunch of tubes. See the tubes right there? They took a bunch of tubes, stacked them around like a Native American hut, like a teepee, and then brazed them together because that's how they made cooling channels. This is all, they switched all of this to 3D printing for the new RL-10E. This is an RL-10B, I think. It could be an RL-10A. It's an old one. So, yeah, that's how they made these things. They had to make them by hand. These tubes were brazed together. Yeah, brazed together. It's just a bunch of tubes put in a circle with these belt straps like a barrel from the Wild West. Yeah, that's how they made these things. They brazed the tubes together. They're not doing that with this anymore. This is all 3D printed now. So that should bring the cost of these RL-10s down. And they gave it a much bigger nozzle. The nozzle seems to be radiative here instead of like full radiative nozzle. No brazed tubes at all. And it could have 3D printed cooling channels, which it probably does. The nozzle design team won on that one. Yep, absolutely. The EUS will use RL-10Cs. Why? Why? You have this. Why? Why Just Space? Why are they like this? Stop it. What? It's so embarrassing, dude. Because it was designed 10 years ago, no joke. Anyway, the new RL-10 is nice. Okay. We got more updates from Gitai. They're working on more lunar robot stuff. Here, take a look. Yeah, they weren't doing Flame Me In down there. Dude, moon excavator. I'm here for it. I'm here for lunar construction equipment. Oh, that's sick, dude. Look at it. Oh, don't tell me it puts the bucket down. It's got the claw. Just pick up a little rock. Look, it's picking up the rock. Now put it in the bucket. Where does the rock go? That's right, it goes in the circle hole. And look, it puts it back in his little tool belt. Ah, that's awesome. What does it do? Uh, this is really amazing. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Yep. No, that thing's pretty neat, dude. That's pretty neat. Oh, that's pretty neat. Kind of had some horror movie vibes going on there, but still really cool. Gitai is a Japanese company that actually reincorporated in America so they could get some lunar contracts, baby. Pretty cool. Speaking of 3D printed rocket nozzle, here's moron. He said moron. Cool. I'll read about that later. Protect Gitai at all costs. I'm buying stock in these guys. This is not financial advice, but good for you, BA. Yeah, dude, that thing is sick. That's cool. The arm can monkey bar around. Now, for what it's worth, guys, something like this is not new. The space station remote manipulator system can do that. The arm that's up at the station, it can monkey bar around like that. Now, it can't monkey bar onto a rover, right? It has to stay at the space station, but it can kind of move around the space station. It can monkey bar to basically a little electric train, and the electric train can move back and forth on the truss segment, which is actually kind of cool. It's pretty neat. Oh yeah, the Canada arm there, bud. Oh yeah. Okay, check this out. Who linked this up? Aurora Flight Sciences, a Boeing company. Josh, I think Josh DeGroot. Hey, Command Racer, 3-month resub. Thank you. Canada Arm mentioned. We need one of those on Mars. We need an army of them on Mars. All right, Josh, what do we got here? A revolutionary solution for contested air transport. What's that, Thomas? Oh, yeah. That's the haste mission. Nice. Cool. All right. What do we got? What do we got here? Blended wing? Blended wing! Blended wing! What is this? Fan and wing technology powers Aurora's concept for unprecedented speed and stealth in a vertical lift. It's VTOL. Aurora Flight Sciences, a Boeing company, is designing an X-plane that uses fan and wing technology to provide high-speed, runway-independent mobility for contested environments. Newly released renderings of the vertical lift concept depict a scalable technology for airborne logistics and personnel recovery missions in locations without a prepared runway. The design work is part of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, Speed and Runway Independent Technology Sprint Program. The Sprint Program aims to design, build, and fly an X-plane to demonstrate the key technologies and integrated concepts that enable a transformational combination of aircraft speed and runway independence. It can take off vertically and go fast and move things around. See? That paragraph's not even needed. Aurora and Boeing are collaborating on the development of key technologies that combine to deliver a revolutionary solution to mobility challenges in contested environments. If your runway gets bombed, this plane can land there anyway. Fan and wing technology combines an embedded lift fan with a blended wing body design to enable vertical lift agility without sacrificing the payload capacity and aerodynamic efficiency associated with today's fixed-wing aircraft. I like that one. That one looks sick. The team is currently designing an uncrewed demonstrator with a 45-foot wingspan and 1,000-pound payload capacity for the Sprint program. The propulsion systems includes off-the-shelf turbofan and turboshaft engines that would power the vehicle to a maximum of 450 knots. Knots true airspeed. The technology demonstrated in the Sprint X-plane could be scaled to medium and heavy lift aircraft, creating a future family of systems. For example, Aurora envisions a manned 130-foot wingspan aircraft with 4 lift fans and 40-foot payload bay. The fan and wing aircraft could meet or exceed the payloads ranges and speeds typical of fixed-wing military transport aircraft while delivering the tactical advantage of true vertical takeoff and landing. Oh, that looks sick. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, John, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool looking, dude. The Sprint program offers the opportunity to deliver a game-changing capability to the warfighter, said Mike Kimona, president and CEO of Aurora Flight Sciences. High-speed stealth, runway-independent transport could help keep warfighters safe and effective in contested environments, so no domain is out of reach. That's so cool. It's got 3 ducted fans there, built into the wing. That's pretty gnarly, dude. Earlier this year, the team completed the first of 3 major test events scheduled for the current phase of the Sprint program to prove out the feasibility of the FIW technology. The ground effect test, conducted using a 4.6-foot wingspan model with 3 lift fans, showed that suckdown events created by the lift fans in hover were negligible and that the landing gear is set to the appropriate height to minimize adverse pitching moments from forming during ground operations. Cool. Wind tunnel tests planned for late 2024 and early 2025 include a stability and control test using a 9-foot wingspan aircraft model and a 5.25 foot semi-span embedded lift fan to test model aerodynamic effects. I know, Squall. It's pretty cool, dude. That's pretty cool. The current phase of the program continues through May 2025, with PDR scheduled for April 2025. Flight testing for the program is planned in 2027. Canada is getting a rover. Oh, that's great, bud. Is it shaped like a nice big beaver? No, it just looks like a brick with wheels. You know, that's good too, bud. Dude, if that's sick, I like that a lot. I want to make it in Kerbal. We've made stuff like this in KSP, but how are we gonna make the blended wing work? That's the thing, dude. How are we gonna make that happen? Shaped like a moose? Oh yeah, bud. Oh yeah, it's got horns, but those horns are actually just the robotic arms that actually move around. Oh yeah, it's great. It looks like a bit like a delta wing merged with a Flugscheibe. Oh, that thing. Yeah. It doesn't look like that. Come on. Wait for Kitten Space Agency. Tell you what, guys. All this Starship stuff is KSP is trending in the right direction for me wanting to play it because I want to build Starship. Yeah, I want to build Starship. I want to do that. Probably will. We'll see. I still want to finish Satisfactory, but I'm kind of like, all right, cool. So next medium article here. So like, not the quick news here. NASA plans to assign missions to 2 future Artemis cargo landers. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh. Yeah. I've heard nothing, Squall. I'll let you know as soon as I hear something, okay? They're forgetting downward visibility in that cockpit. They need some chin windows. I mean, Aqualex, knowing with what I've seen from like how the new stuff is getting made, they probably just have a downward facing camera. Hey, Pauls. Related to content on the screen. Got a new job, by the way. Got to watch a rocket launch from your desk today. New job. Is your new job like, yeah? Or is your new job like, eh? Is it, or, You get to watch a rocket launch from your desk tomorrow. Oh. 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 Oh, that's neat. So it's all right, cool. Let's see what we got. That's cool, man. It's good to see you, Pulse. 94 month resub, dude. Spank you very much. Noisegate. We can't hear it for a difference. Emily Calandrelli is going up on NS28. Oh, that's neat. That's cool. Yeah, NS28's on Friday. It's tomorrow. Or what day is it? Yes, it's tomorrow. Excellent. NASA, along with its industry and international partners, is preparing for sustained exploration of the lunar surface with the Artemis campaign to advance science. Okay, where's the fluff stuff? All right. NASA expects to assign demonstration missions to the current human landing system providers, SpaceX and Blue Origin, to mature designs of their large cargo landers following successful design certification reviews. The assignment of these missions builds on the 2023 request by NASA for the 2 companies to develop cargo versions of their crewed human landing systems, now in development for Artemis 3, 4, and 5. NASA is planning for both crewed missions and future services missions to the moon beyond Artemis 5. Okay. The Artemis campaign is a collaborative effort with international and industry partners. Having 2 lunar lander providers with different approaches for crew and cargo landing capability provides mission flexibility while ensuring a regular cadence of moon landings for continued discovery and scientific opportunity. NASA plans for at least 2 delivery missions with large cargo. The agency intends for SpaceX's Starship cargo lander to deliver a pressurized rover The agency intends for SpaceX's Starship cargo lander to deliver a pressurized rover currently in development by JAXA, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, to the lunar surface no earlier than fiscal year 2032. In support of Artemis 7 and later missions. Artyom, I'm looking for a free CAD for 3D printing. Blender. The agency expects Blue Origin to deliver a lunar surface habitat net 2033. Based on current design and development progress for both crew and cargo landers, the Artemis mission scheduled for the crew lander versions, NASA assigned a pressurized rover mission for SpaceX and a lunar habitat delivery for Blue Origin. said Lisa Watson Morgan, program manager, human landing system at Marshall. These large cargo lander demonstration missions aim to optimize our NASA and industry technical expertise, resources, and funding as we prepare for the future of deep space exploration. SpaceX will continue cargo lander development and prepare for the Starship cargo mission under Option B of the Next Step Appendix H contract. Blue Origin will conduct its cargo lander work and demonstration mission under Next Step Appendix P. NASA expects to issue an initial request for proposals to both companies in early 2025. Yuri, what are you saying over there? I tried to find recently how much SpaceX spends on Starbase. I remember it's like 1 billion per. It's 1.2 billion per year it's from an environmental court case, believe it or not. Yeah, it's like $4 million a day or something for Starbase. With the NASA Artemis campaign, NASA will explore the moon more than ever, learn how to live and work away from home, and prepare for the future of exploration of Mars. NASA's SLS rocket, exploration ground systems, and Orion spacecraft, along with commercial human landing systems, next-generation spacesuits, Gateway Lunar Space Station, and future rovers are NASA's foundation for deep space exploration. You see this? You see that? You see any dates here? You see any dates here? You see any dates for any of this? That's the problem. I know. I get it. There's dates up here. Yes, I understand that. 2030, 2033. 2033. 2033. You see what I'm talking about? That's the problem. Dude, I could build a lunar rover in that amount of time. And I have no idea what I'm doing. NS-28 crews go for tomorrow's launch. Neat. 2033. That's 9 years from now. What we would need to do to get you as for NASA administrator? I don't know. I'd do it if they asked. Sure. I would have to stop streaming though, guys. But I would stop streaming to do that.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Isn't that about how long it freaking took to get to the moon the freaking first time? Yes. You just need to do daily press briefings? Sure. Hey, Arsenal, 89-month resub. Whoop-dee! It's rocket science. What do you expect? Okay. So, a little bit of update on future cargo missions. Do you see how open it was though? That's my problem. That's my problem here. 2033, 2032 for maybe putting this rover there. So you want to build that rover, right? You want to build that rover. They want to build a rover. What the heck are we going to do? Dude, it doesn't take that long to make a lunar rover. So if you're going to start getting out the RFP in 2025, right? In early 2025, the request for proposals, all right? You're setting up a timeline here to build a rover in 8 years? It's not good enough, man. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. These programs are never going to last that long. Do you know why they're never going to last this long? They're never lasting this long because look where SpaceX was 9 years ago. Where do you think SpaceX is going to be 9 years from now? 9 years from now, Starship flies every day. even in the most nightmare scenarios of like technical setbacks, all this stuff is going to look real stupid if we get to that point. 2032 is not good enough. It's not good enough. That rover needs to be out there by the end of the decade. The rover and those landers, ironically with Starship, need to be out there by the end of the decade. Dude, SpaceX will have an entire army of Cybertrucks on the freaking moon by then. Like, your last link is relevant to the topic. That's what I mean, dude. These programs are all going to look real stupid by the time this happens, by the time this all rolls around. Want to agree with Eric Berger. Oh, God. Do you know how bad spaceflight policy has to get for me to agree with that guy about this? Oh, all right, let's see. Oh, God, I'm agreeing. Oh. See, but look, I'll read this, but I'll tell you, his conclusion is probably just cancel it all and give it all to SpaceX. I don't think that's a good idea. I think the program needs to be revamped. Let's see. When it comes to space policy, a hallmark of the first Trump administration was its embrace of private companies. Okay. NASA sought to build fewer expensive things and buy more low-cost services. In doing so, it aimed to foster a healthy ecosystem of private space companies. Under the leadership of Jim Bridenstine, NASA, during these years, stood on the shoulders of more than a decade of government investment in commercial space. This culminated in a triumphant Crew Dragon mission in the summer of 2020, the first privately led human orbital spaceflight. Demo 2 was the name of the mission, sent Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the ISS on a Dragon, validated NASA's long push into commercial space. Since then, the agency has only doubled down on this approach, generally using fixed-price contracts and buying a service instead of telling companies what and how to build while paying a premium. Yeah, how's that working for the Starliner program, pal? There are growing concerns about the sustainability of this strategy, though. Some contractors are struggling financially. Yes, okay, cool. He knows. Sweet. And others have bowed out of commercial programs entirely. Inside the agency, too, there appears to be some pushback against these private space initiatives, with agency officials seeking more control. Some key commercial space leaders have left or been edged out of the agency, leaving questions about who will champion these programs. In short, after nearly 2 decades, NASA's commercial space efforts are starting to show some cracks. Okay, cool. Yeah, how about that Starliner program? I'm agreeing with Eric. Something is very wrong here. Uh-oh. Oh, God. This is bad. Yeah, Ben, I'll get to it. I have that teed up over here somewhere. It's bad timing. These issues come at a critical moment for NASA and its plans for the next couple of decades of human space exploration. NASA has effectively bet its human spaceflight program on commercial space, which I have been saying for a long time is an extremely bad idea. For the next 10 to 15 years, most of NASA's ambitions plan rely on fixed-price contracts, everything from small cargo vehicles to large human landers on the moon. Space stations in both low Earth orbit and around the moon, communication and navigation services near Earth and the moon, lunar rovers, a new generation of spacesuits, and potentially even an ambitious mission to return Martian rocks to Earth. If the commercial space revolution goes bust, NASA will be effectively grounded. I agree. Where are you going with this, Eric? Where are you going with this? That's exactly right. This is what I've been saying for a long time. I don't trust this. I don't trust it. I don't trust it, man. I don't trust it. Let's see. And now the The Trump administration, which picked up the commercial space baton from Presidents Bush and Obama in 2017 with such gusto, is coming back for a second round. Multiple sources have told ours that the administration plans to lean even further into commercial space. NASA programs will operate with less overhead to support more private space industry activity. So NASA better get this right if it wants to go anywhere meaningful in space. Here, then, is a guide to how NASA got here and what the current problems are with commercial space, and some suggestions to set up the space agency and its private contractors up for success. I've spoken to a half dozen key insiders for this story, some of whom have contracts with NASA, so most of the sourcing for this story is anonymous. Back to the beginning. The modern era of commercial space began about 2 decades ago, when NASA decided to test whether private companies could step up and deliver food cargo and other supplies to the International Space Station. The agency had never really tried anything like this before, so the officials involved in the project started with some guiding principles, explained Alan Lindemoyer, who managed the commercial cargo program for NASA in an interview. The first principle was that the U.S. government should be one of many customers. Okay. If what NASA was asking for was solely for NASA purposes, then you should just move toward a traditional cost-plus contract, Lindemoyer said. We did not want to be the only customer. We wanted to be able to use what was available in the public market for government use, with minimum modifications. This ideal setup was to buy off-the-shelf products at a steep discount. What? But you can't buy off-the-shelf products if they don't exist. You're paying the people to make the thing, and then you buy it off the shelf after, when it becomes an off-the-shelf thing. Perhaps I misunderstood. Of course, in spaceflight, these products did not... Okay, thank God. All right, I'm not going crazy. Of course, in spaceflight, these products did not exist yet. In the early 2000s, NASA's means of supplying the space station included the Space Shuttle, along with cargo vehicles developed by state-run agencies in Europe and Japan. There were no private orbital spacecraft. Russian 2, Progress. So NASA's commercial cargo had 2 phases. First was developed and demonstrated, to be followed by the delivery of commercial services. The purpose of that demonstration phase was to accelerate what private companies were already planning to do. The government would kick in some seed funding and technical resources, and then, if the companies succeeded, there was the promise of multi-mission contracts for services, in this case, bringing tons of stuff to the ISS in return for billions of dollars. Lindemoyer and other NASA officials involved in the first commercial program, known as the Commercial Orbital Transport Services, COTS, also understood they had to be hands-off. They would not tell a company what to build or how to build it as long as the company's vehicle could safely get to and from the space station. In NASA parlance, this was known as levying requirements. For a traditional space program, NASA would have thousands of requirements and hundreds of engineers to enforce them. For COTS, NASA had a few hundred requirements and a few dozen people working on the program. Brain drain at NASA. See the see what I'm talking about? It was fundamental to have a well-developed, lean set of requirements. Yeah, that's Dragon 1 is the Dragon 1 spacecraft was the result of commercial orbital transport services. And that's what NASA did. In August 2006, the space agency awarded a few $100 million in fixed-price development contracts to SpaceX and another company, rocket plane Kistler. K-1 was a good idea for what it's worth. A year later, NASA dropped Kistler because it could not meet its commitments. This was an inauspicious start because with fixed-price contracts as opposed to cost-plus contracts, which are more expensive but guarantee that contractors will eventually cross the finish line, NASA was taking a risk that some providers would drop out. But in 2008, WISP, NASA needs to have engineering drive their requirements, not management. It's been a programmatic problem for a half century, and I'm frankly sick of it. I've been willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I've watched the space program. You pause this for a second. I've watched the space program and have been intimately familiar with funding, accountability, press conferences, etc., over the last decade. Dude, I've been like, take their time. This stuff takes time, and it does. Not 2032 for a goddamn lunar rover. Okay? That's ridiculous. I'm a patient guy. I know this stuff takes time. I'm pretty dang familiar with how it all works. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to make my own. I don't know how to do that. I know I have a good judgment on time doing mission mode in KSP and just reading a lot about how this all works, right? Dude, you have to have engineering drive your decision. You have to have engineering and a deadline drive your decision. If you don't, NASA fails spectacularly every time. That's what it's been like over the last 50 years. 10 of which I am very intimately familiar with. But in 2008, NASA brought on a different provider, Orbital Sciences, and the Commercial Orbital Transport Services program moved forward. In 2012, SpaceX flew a successful demonstration mission of its Dragon spacecraft. Orbital Sciences followed a year later with its Cygnus spacecraft. With the development phase complete, NASA moved into a second phase of purchasing services. The agency has never looked back. Dozens of successful missions later, with more than 100 tons of cargo being delivered to the ISS, the Cargo Services Program remains an unqualified success. Yeah, that's pretty much right. Yeah, the resupply. NASA actually extended the resupply contract 2 times. So CRS-1 and the contracts are CRS-1 and CRS-2. Yeah, they extended CRS-2 and out basically a good while. And CRS-2 took over during SpaceX 21, SpaceX Resupply 21. So CRS 21 was the first CRS 2 contract mission, if I'm remembering correctly. With the development phase complete, NASA moved into the second phase, purchasing service. Okay, yeah. Okay. Afterward, NASA even calculated how much it would have cost the agency to develop comparable capabilities using its traditional contract methods. The result, 4 to 10 times as much. Four to 10, it's kind of a wide range there. It was 21, Eric's? Right on. I have that teed up, Creeper. We'll share it a little bit later. I'm agreeing on that. Yeah. Interesting. Let's see. Some cracks emerge. The success of Dragon and Cygnus lit the fuse for a new era of commercial spaceflight. Seeking a replacement for the Space Shuttle's crew capability, NASA began initial work in 2010 on crew transportation services. And 4 years later, it was awarded a multi-billion-dollar development contract. It awarded multi-billion-dollar development contracts to SpaceX and Boeing. With this approach, NASA remained more or less true to the guiding principles laid out by Lindenmoyer. Yeah. SpaceX got a $2.4 billion contract for Dragon 2, and Boeing got a 2.4 and 4.2. Boeing got a $4.2 billion contract for Starliner. That included development and 6 resupply missions at the very least. SpaceX delivered on that, and their commercial crew program contract has also been extended to a second round. Boeing has not delivered 1 mission. Well, out of the 6 missions that they're supposed to deliver, you know how that ended. They don't owe NASA money. They owe NASA services. They need to launch to the ISS 6 more times. Starliner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They delivered 0.5 missions. Yep. Under their contract structure that Boeing had, they had a uncrewed docking to the ISS, crew docking to the ISS, and then 6 missions after that. They tried to do the uncrewed docking. It failed. They tried to do it again. It worked. And then they launched crew, and that didn't work too well. And the crew is still up there right now. That's because NASA rotated them into the ISS astronaut rotation, and they'll come back down on a Dragon in 2025. Whoops. But there's a good reason why this happened, and I'm wondering. I'm not going to say it. I'm wondering where he goes with this. Let's see. It's the thrusters. The thrusters on Starliner were not tested good enough. But let's see where Eric goes with this. I'm kind of curious. The agency provided funding and development for a demonstration mission followed up with large service contracts. It kept requirements lean. And in the case of Dragon, there have been nearly as many private missions on Dragon as government flights, making good on NASA's aim of being one of many customers. The funny thing is that one of the commercial companies that bought flights from SpaceX hasn't paid up on them. They're well behind on payments for 4 Dragon flights. Whoops. But not all has gone well. A traditional space company like Boeing, accustomed to cost-plus contracts, struggled in the commercial space arena. It was not positioned for lean development and has reported losses of more than $2 billion on its Starliner program. Axiom, John. Yep. Why is a plane company so bad at spaceflight? Because they're a plane company watching? That might have something to do with it. I have thoughts, but I want to read this. I'm curious. Moreover, Boeing is now 7 years behind on its original schedule for getting Starliner certified for operational missions. And it's unclear if this will ever happen. It's not unclear. Never mind. Following this experience, Boeing, along with other traditional contractors, including Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin, have essentially told NASA they will no longer bid for fixed-price contracts. They see such opportunities as money losers. The big contractors have been lobbying for a return to cost-plus contracts. Yeah, I mean, that was hearsay, but that's the gist of it. I mean, yeah, Axiom owes a lot of people a lot of money. Axiom is deep in the red right now. Deep in the red. The reason why is because they tried to. They were doing, funding private missions to the ISS, and then they wanted to build modules to attach to the ISS. And then for some reason they thought they wanted to make a spacesuit at the same time too. The thing is that the spacesuit contract is potentially more lucrative, but you set up your entire company to train astronauts and build space station modules. And then also on top of all that, a startup, you tried to scale. They tried to scale to build suits too at the same time, which basically they're stuck doing now because NASA needs those suits for the moon. So, yeah, it got so bad they fired the CEO. Well, they didn't fire him, he stepped down. But yeah. Yeah, Axiom is pretty badly in the red right now. But they have a nice spacesuit that they designed with Prada. Nevertheless, NASA has pressed ahead with a fixed-price approach. With zeal from 2018 to 2020, Bridenstine infused commercial space into the new Artemis program to return humans to the moon. Beyond the cost-plus contracts for the Space Launch System, rocket, and Orion spacecraft awarded years earlier, nearly all contracts for the lunar program were to be based on a fixed price. This included contracts for very complicated systems, including the Human Landing System awarded to Starship and SpaceX, lunar spacesuits awarded to Axiom, and a lunar rover awarded to 3 companies, Astrolab, Lunar Outpost, and Intuitive Machines. Yep. The problem is NASA has gotten far away from the guiding principles that led to success with the early cargo and crew programs. Some of the new commercial programs have skipped the commercial orbital transport services development phase entirely and have gone directly into the services phase, even though the contractors are still developing their hardware. NASA also appears to be funding far lower share of the cost than it did during the cargo and crew programs. Additionally, many of the new programs do not have any near-term customers except the government, so NASA is not one of the many customers, it's the only customer. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying for a long time. There are other players in the station arena. That's right, Eric's. Vast is working. Vast is working on stuff. Sierra's working on stuff. Yeah. Blue's working on stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. Axiom is just having problems because they wanted to be a low Earth orbit company and then decided to score a contract for building suits for beyond low Earth orbit. Whoops. Yeah, it's a heck of a pivot there. And perhaps most importantly, NASA is loading the companies down with requirements. NASA is adding requirements, changing them, and burdening contractors with thousands of requirements rather than hundreds. They have showed a cost plus they have shoved a cost plus contract into a fixed price environment, one senior government source said. Instead of a lean contract, there are thousands of requirements for something that has no other customers. Added an official from a commercial space company working on a fixed price contract with NASA. It certainly feels like a lot of people are treating us like we're a cost plus contractor. Every meeting is a tax. In recent years, the U.S. Space Agency has lost some of the key people who helped shepherd the early commercial programs to success. Alan Lindenmoyer retired from NASA in 2015. The manager of the commercial crew program, Kathy Leaders, left NASA in April 2023. Yeah, that's because Bill Nelson took her job away. I'm serious. They took her job away. She was running the human spaceflight program, and then Bill decided he didn't want her to do that anymore and effectively took her job away and gave her a different job title. That's why she left. Yeah. I said it was dumb at the time. And yeah, I mean, Kathy Leaders works for SpaceX now, so whatever. It was not clear whether she left for a better opportunity. She became manager of the Starbase facility in South Texas. Yeah, Kathy's doing all right. She's doing just fine. Or if she was gently pushed aside by agency leaders. Eric, dude, she was pushed aside. They took her job away and gave it to Jim Free. I'm serious. They restructured, NASA in 2022 restructured their entire hierarchy. They restructured the entire hierarchy from so how it used to work is that you had your NASA administrator and you had a couple deputy administrators under them, and then you had the leader of the Science Mission Directorate and the leader of the Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate, HEOMD and SMD, right? That's how it was before. The Science Mission Directorate has pretty much stayed the same. They took Human Exploration Operations, right? So that was Artemis. Anything that had to do with a person flying into space was under HEOMD. What NASA did in 2022 was take HEOMD and split it. They split it into commercial stuff, right? And Artemis stuff. Kathy Leaders was running the whole thing, and they took all the Artemis stuff away from her, and then she left. Real funny, actually. And the Commercial Crew Deputy Program Administrator, Steve Stitch, now runs the Commercial Crew Program. They took it away from her and gave it to a guy by the name of Jim Free. Jim Free was in charge of Exploration Ground Systems, and he got promoted from that position, and now he's like third in charge at NASA, I think. I think he's the associate deputy administrator. There's the administrator, there's the deputy administrator, and there's the associate deputy administrator, which is... Yeah, she ended up working on... Dude, she manages Starbase, Eric. She manages all of Starbase. Yeah. Turns out the lady that was running an entire lunar exploration program and had that taken away is good at running lunar exploration programs. Weird, huh? That's weird. And more recently, the longtime head of the Commercial Space Office, Phil McAllister, was reassigned to a lesser office. Yep. Interesting. Yes, provocative. The new acting director for NASA's Commercial Spaceflight Division, Robin Gatens, has no commercial space experience. The People leave the government all the time, of course, but for various reasons. But NASA has clearly lost some of its most important leaders when it comes to understanding how to set commercial companies up for success. For example, the understandable tendency at NASA is to throw engineers onto programs to help solve challenging projects. With some traditional space contracts, the ratio of NASA engineers working on a program is essentially 1-to-1 with those of private contractors. This creates extra work for the contractor as there are more interactions with NASA. To be clear, NASA is there to help and does provide technical assistance, but responding to all these queries and participating in meetings takes a lot of time. Yeah, that's fair. That's fine for a cost-plus contract because all of a contractor's expenses are reimbursed. But it's not so fine for a company working on a fixed-price contract, which starts with a finite amount of resources. Sources told ours that NASA managers must understand that an important part of their job is to rein in the interactions between the space agency and the contractor. Every single question or meeting is a tax, and it's a zero-sum game for them, one senior official said of fixed-price contractors. It's taking away from them building the service that you wanted them to build for you, and so NASA needs to be really thoughtful about that insight and oversight. It's not clear that senior leadership at NASA really understands this. Who's in charge of hiring these people? Inadvertently, the president. The president appoints the NASA administrator. NASA administrator has to get confirmed by the Senate, specifically the Commerce, Justice, and Science Committee in the Senate. Once the NASA administrator does, they basically can hire whoever. Let's see. I'm interested what's the conclusion that Eric's drawing here, because yeah, this is for the most part right, but let me see. I don't know if they understand what they're doing, a private industry official said. The government's really got to look at itself. They've got to continue to strip it down and keep the focus on how do I get this hardware out. They do that by being very, very, very thoughtful about how they're managing the contract. They've always got to be thinking, how do I reduce my overhead on the contract? It forces you to be very deliberate in all aspects of your product program and product management related to the service. And honestly, if you do that, guess what? You get more hardware for your dollars. For the most part accurate, yeah. It's worth trying for. Stakes are high. If NASA fumbles this new era of commercial space, some of its key programs could fall by the wayside. Already, one of the space agency's 2 providers of next-generation spacesuits, Collins Aerospace, has dropped out. Yep. Remember when I was talking about Axiom Space? How they have to make that spacesuit? Because NASA tried to pawn it off to commercial when there's no market for commercial. And wouldn't you know, one of the contractors left. So now we only have one company working on beyond low Earth orbit extravehicular activity spacesuits. And that company is well in the red. Oops. Its private space station companies are struggling financially. Yeah, because one of them decided they wanted to make spacesuits instead. With enough setbacks, the legacy aerospace contractors are waiting in the wings to return to an era of cost-plus contracts. Everything would slow down and get more expensive. No. If there's dates, it will get more expensive, but stuff actually happens. The opportunity costs are high as well. Under fixed-price contracts, private companies generally keep most or all of their intellectual property. This encourages innovation and competition, drawing the benefits of the entrepreneurial spirit into the nation's spaceflight enterprise. Or you could just pick a goal and that happens naturally in-house. Just putting it out there. If you do cost-plus, you lose the intellectual property, an industry official said. The company loses the IP, and the innovation cycle ends there because the government sucks at licensing. Very, very much an opinion, but all right. Although NASA's commercial space program faced stiff headwinds, no one who spoke on background for this article believes failure is inevitable. However, they assert that NASA must do a better job of understanding the challenges faced by its new generation of contractors, and in some cases, be prepared to pay extra costs and change the way it does business. Be prepared to pay extra costs. 2 paragraphs up. Everything would slow down and get more expensive. Expense isn't correlated to time here, guys. That's not true. Okay. If all this works, it's worth it. And the cargo and crew programs have shown NASA can derive huge benefits from commercial space. For example, every year of the last decade, NASA has spent on the order of $3 billion to develop the space launch. Here we go. To develop the Space Launch System and its ground systems. This is a staggering sum of money for a rocket that is reusing Space Shuttle main engines and similar rocket boosters. By contrast, for $2.9 billion in total, not just per year, NASA is paying for the development and demonstration of a human lunar lander. SpaceX's Starship vehicle is far more complicated and is performing as... This mother trucker. Eric! Come on, man! SpaceX's Starship vehicle is far more complicated and is performing as difficult a task as the SLS rocket. But thanks to its fixed-price contract, NASA is getting this service at 1/10 the cost of its traditionally built SLS rocket. Wow. Oh, dude, that's a Bush League comparison. Come on, Eric. Seriously, dude. That's a Bush League comparison, and you know it. I'm not even that pro SLS, right? Like, I want the rocket to work. I want it to launch more. And I'm Team SpaceX through and through. But this negates the billions of dollars that SpaceX has sunk into Starship development. And I mean, if that's your point, you know, the amount of money NASA is investing into something, sure, absolutely. But this seems to imply that the lander and everything else to get the lander out to the moon, you know, you have to include all that, because you have to include your total cost involved. If you compare Starship TCI to SLS TCI, Starship is way more expensive. But that's on a launch per launch basis. What you do with the point is that it's always going to be expensive. And expense isn't necessarily correlated to time. It doesn't have to be that way. The reason why is because the Apollo program took less than 10 years and did arguably more than any one of these programs and was more expensive than all of them. Oh boy. That's kind of loaded up. I get what he's trying to say. He's comparing base just what NASA's investing, right? But it's failing to mention that SpaceX themselves is shouldering the cost here for everything else to get that lander there. They're shouldering that cost. And I mean, I guess if that's your point, that's your point, sure. But that's a little bit disingenuous, don't you think? The reality is that NASA can't afford the Artemis program without leaning into commercial space. False. Program managers need to just try and back off on gold plating the requirements, one official said. The government wants a lot of things, but they don't necessarily need all of them for a project to be successful. They're accustomed to ordering exactly what they want as opposed to what they need. Can you meet your mission objectives without all the bells and whistles? If you give them a goal, they'll if you give NASA a goal and you give it a set, defined, well-defined mission with well-defined milestones, all of that goes away because they'll finance what they need to get that done. If you don't do that, like what NASA's basically been doing the last 4 years, you're going to get copious amounts of waste. This is the whole problem that I'm trying to say. it's very interesting that, you know, once again, like Eric is saying basically like NASA needs to back off of the commercial and let commercial do its thing. It'll end up being cheaper in the long run. But in the first part of this article, he told about how Starliner is $2 billion in the hole. So which one is it, pal? Like what are we talking about here? I'm confused. By the conclusion, see, this is what I'm wondering. By the conclusion that he's making with this article, you're saying that, you know, NASA needs to let commercial do their thing, but they let SpaceX do their thing and they were fine, and they let Cygnus do Northrop Grumman do their thing and they were fine, but they let Boeing do their thing and they weren't fine. So which one is it, pal? See what I'm saying, guys? The conclusion that's being made here is that commercial can do it for cheaper if NASA just lets them do their thing. That's not true. That's not true at all. And also how fixed pricing is going to end up, you know, being less expensive. Yeah, great. It's less expensive. It's less expensive. You paid for 2 spacecraft and got 1. So is it less expensive? Starliner hasn't moved anything yet. Don't get me wrong, Boeing is not selling that program. There was kind of news about that. I was thinking about this. There's no way. There's no way they're doing that. Like what I don't understand. What are you talking about? I don't see any other companies fronting the bill for development. They only want to be paid to innovate. They only want to be paid to innovate instead of doing it themselves. I'm curious on the shakedown timeline of when Starship is fully operational going out to the moon compared to SLS, which can't be answered yet. Yeah. Difference should be at the end of the day, NASA owns SLS, SpaceX owns Starship, should be the difference of cost, overall cost. Flip up. I'm going to say this once, I'm going to say it again. If you want to build something to go to the moon, you're looking at 10 years and about $30 billion. It doesn't matter if it's a commercial program. It doesn't matter if it's private. It doesn't matter if it's NASA. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, China. It doesn't matter. 10 years, $30 billion. That's what it's going to take. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you're not beating physics. Okay? You're not beating physics. That's the price you pay to overcome physics. To have the characteristic energy to send something to the surface of the moon and back. 10 years, $30 billion. Doesn't matter who does it. NASA with a blank check still took about a decade in the 60s. It does not matter. That's what people need to understand. Now, here's the thing. What you do with that $30 billion over those 10 years is going to make a real difference for after those 10 years, after your vehicle is developed. You have a vehicle like Saturn V? Saturn V, because we didn't know how to do it because it was the first one, shouldered an insanely high cost because there was nothing to compare it to. We didn't know how much it was going to cost, and we let the goal drive the engineering. Right? So it ended up being a little expensive when you're, you know, total cost involved, all told, building all the launch facilities, building all the launch pads, building all the factories that needed to be made. It ended up shouldering an insane cost, right? Starship is the same way. Building Starbase, you think Starbase is not a multi-billion-dollar operation? We talked about it a little earlier. It's going to the tune of like $1.4 billion a year per a civil suit with SpaceX, where they mentioned it as a matter of factly. Starship costs about $1.4 billion a year to run it. $1.4 billion a year, and it's been doing that. I mean, granted, costs do scale up over time, but basically since 2019, I'd say if you really wanted to be like, if you really wanted to be, not technical, like if you wanted to be really accurate, it probably didn't spend $1 billion in 2019. It probably got to a multi-billion dollar project in 2021, 2022. So that means over the last 3 to 4 years, they're operating at $1.4 billion a year, building out Starbase, building out all the high base, building out all the facilities, all the plumbing, all the hovercrafts, all the SPMTs, all the trucks, all the propellants all the construction equipment, all the construction contractors, the cranes, buying a freaking crane. buying that Libre 11,000, all this stuff adds up, dude. And where is Starship close to the moon right now? No, Starship will probably get out to the moon sometime in the next couple of years. But once again, I guarantee you by that point, SpaceX will be at least maybe not 30 billion, but it'll be expensive. Not 30 billion in the whole, but keep in mind that $1.4 billion is not your total cost involved for the entire Starship program. That doesn't include costs from testing Raptor engines at McGregor, building new facilities at McGregor for Raptor engines, or building your assembly line in Hawthorne, California to build Raptor engines in the first place. If you include all the costs involved, 10 years, $30 billion, right there. Now, here's the thing. SpaceX is using that $30 billion to make something rapidly reusable. So it doesn't matter what you make. You could tee it up for 1 launch a year. You could tee it up for 30 launches a year. You could tee it up for 400 launches a year. That's how much it's going to cost. In fact, Starship might end up costing a little bit more. The point that I'm trying to get at is that this isn't some crazy dichotomy between public cost plus programs and firm fixed price commercial programs. It's not that. It's the management of the program. Okay? Eric cited NASA personnel being at NASA that understood what it took to make a lean commercial vehicle for commercial resupply and commercial orbital transport services, right? Or switch those. COTS came first, right? Where do you think they understood this from? They understood this from having a shuttle program as perspective. Okay? Without the shuttle program for perspective, you do not have those driving goals. Understand? So you see these contracts that he's talking about for the spacesuits, for the landers, all right? And for like Gateway and stuff, there's nothing to compare it to. So if you commercialize parts of an exploration program that NASA is working on, if you commercialize parts of it, right? And there's no analog to compare costs to, and there's no goal for this mission, NASA's just going to keep adding goals because they don't know what they're going to do. Like, well, we might go to an asteroid. Oh, we might go to the surface of the moon. We might go to the pole. We might go to Mars. We might do this. We might do that. No. There's nothing to compare it to. There's no goals. There's no accountability. And even if you firm fixed price that, they'll still fail. You're setting them up to fail. It's not about the contract structuring. It's the management. And he did touch base on that article, but as a way for NASA to be hands off with commercial companies, which is strange. But you see what I'm talking about, dudes? Like, I agree with all the stuff a lot of the stuff that he said, but the conclusion is completely wrong. Like, the solution here for NASA to be more and more hands-off is going to create a self-defeating feedback loop. NASA gets more hands-off, commercial gets bigger. NASA gets more hands-off, commercial gets bigger. NASA gets more hands-off, commercial gets bigger. And then there's going to be no NASA left. There's going to be nothing to compare these prices to, nothing to understand, like driving lean requirements for commercial things. And then guess what? Your firm fixed price contracts, commercial companies are going to pull out because there's no reason. If you're firm fixed price, you're setting your contractors up to fail. Just like Starliner, just like Collins pulling out of the spacesuit program. How do you not see this? I'm so confused. I don't have a bunch of insiders at NASA to tell me this information. This is just something I've been surmising from what I see here. You see what I'm talking about? NASA went full hands off with Boeing and they failed miserably. They're $2 billion in the hole. And that's why Boeing is trying to get some cost plus contracts, because NASA set them up to fail. Yeah, there. I said it. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Boeing never made a capsule before. Boeing's never made a spacecraft before that's human rated. Before they got that Starliner contract, they never have made one. They operated human rated spacecraft. Just because you have your driver's license doesn't mean you're Henry Ford, okay? I don't care who you are. See what I'm talking about? If you look at the scope of the Starliner program over time, the development of their capsule is actually right in line with development of SpaceX's capsule if you start from scratch. So, i.e., in 2006, when SpaceX first got contracted to make Dragon 1. If you tally that up right next to when Boeing got their first contract to build a capsule, having no prior experience, the timelines are actually pretty much linear. Interesting, right? And then NASA went hands off and they failed miserably on a fixed price contract. $2 billion in the hole. They launched OFT-2 to the tune of $425 million out of pocket. See what I'm talking about? This isn't about commercial. This isn't about public. This isn't about NASA being hands-on contractors and hands-off, citing that as a reason why we should incessantly drive commercial. NASA needs to have long-term goals. They need to have long-term goals. You have long-term goals. NASA pays people for very quick. NASA has an in-house program, right? They send people to the moon, and then you have a price point for commercial to compete with. That is the only scenario where commercial makes sense. And that's why all the people that originally made Commercial Crew and Commercial Resupply knew how to run it, because they had the perspective of the space shuttle resupplying and building the space station. If you do not have that in-house NASA program to give you a bench test cost, commercial cannot scale to it, and you're incentivizing waste just the same. You're incentivizing waste. Only this time, instead of keeping a government contractor fully reliant on government contracts to stay functioning because it's commercial, they'll either leave or go bankrupt. Case in point, Axiom, Collins, Boeing. See what Boeing hasn't gone bankrupt, but their Starliner program is not doing well. See what I'm saying? I agreed with a lot that Eric said there. That was actually a pretty good article, but the conclusion is really not a good idea. That's a really bad idea. NASA being more hands-off and letting commercial do its thing, right? And not having the requirements drive all you're going to do is make NASA wholly reliant on commercial that way. And then there's going to be no NASA. Anyway, thoughts? What do you think? Hey, Rep hit 48-month resub. Thank you very much. It might be worth noting that the U.S. in the 1960s had a single state agency, NASA, made a central plan for everything and stuck to it, and told the contractors exactly what they wanted to make and how, because they had a driving goal. Get to the moon before 1970. They landed on the moon. Soviets had like 7 different design bureaus, half of whom actively hated each other, made them compete for resources and attention, and didn't create any sort of central plan for what to do or how. They made 3 separate moon rockets, all of which failed horribly. That's an interesting point, Bill. Bureaucracy and scope creep are a massive problem, and it's showing big time. Yeah, but scope creep is happening because the bureaucrats don't have anything to do, because there's no driving requirements. The whole point, if you look at the Apollo program, the whole point is to leverage that system to work for you, not against you. With no goal, no deadline, we might go to the moon, we might go to the Mars, maybe we'll go to an asteroid, maybe we'll launch Orion here, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. You're giving your bureaucrats nothing to do. And believe me, bureaucrats will find something to do. Does that make sense? Remember, Boeing got involved in Commercial Crew lobbying to be the sole contractor and getting all $6.6 billion. I think the issues for Boeing started when that didn't happen. They probably did that, Gob, because they have no experience making capsules. They have no experience making spacecraft, period. Boeing, historically, has made stages for NASA. They make the SLS core. They made external tanks before that, and they made Saturn V first stages before that. Boeing's good at making stages. They have no experience making spacecraft. The irony is that they absorbed all the companies that were good at engineering spacecraft and then liquidated them over time. Whoops. Anonymous gifter gave Poopers a tier 1 sub. Nice. Nice. Pretty bureaucratic feedback loop. It's pretty bad. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to leverage. The The system that you're working with here for a public sector space program is inherently bureaucratic. It's a regulatory system, right? Right? Because it's a regulatory system, you need to give it something to regulate. If you don't give it something to do, if you don't give your system something to do, it'll find something to do, and it incentivizes scope creeping because you don't have any goals. You have to get the bureaucrats to work for you, not against you. Correct me if I'm wrong, when no goal is given, they will give themselves a goal, even if it's crappy. Yuri, what do you got? Your mother once said when I was yapping about space that a jobs program to use every state in one rocket looks like USSR stuff with small parts in different republics. Yeah, the Soviet Union did the same thing, Yuri. Soyuz spacecraft to this day are made in, what is it, Tushino? Outside of Moscow. The Russians even do it. The Angara, they stopped... They make Soyuz, what's the name of the facility? I forget. They make Soyuz in Moscow, and then they make Angara in Omsk. But yeah, the Soviet Union did that. That's why their launch facilities are in Kazakhstan. Yeah. Shouldn't they be the ones defining the meaningful goals? They could 5-inch if you wanted them to. And that's what they're basically doing right now. The goals come from the executive branch of the U.S. government. You need the president. You need the president to take space flight seriously and take it seriously as a national priority. Now, will we see that in the future? Don't know. Don't want to have that conversation right now. But that's what needs to happen. You need someone like President Kennedy. Heck, if you really even want to be bad, Nixon, even him with the space shuttle program understood a way to get the system to work for you. I mean, he did that by basically making NASA and the Department of Defense make a launch vehicle together, which, hey, it still leveraged the system pretty well. I'd prefer to do it more like John F. Kennedy, if anything, but you get the idea. NASA would still have science because science is government funded, and science payloads would be a good payload for commercial, but when NASA is just science, it would have a hard time getting funds. Exactly. You got to leverage the system to work for you, Yuri. If you don't,
this is space. I'm in space.
If you don't, there's gonna be nothing left. No, you take away SLS, you take away Artemis, just leave the NASA Science Mission Directorate. You totally get rid of exploration ground systems, exploration systems development. You get rid of all that stuff. Guess what? Now the people that control the purse strings are not going to see NASA as worth it. That is a really bad idea. Like a really bad idea. Hey, God, give the deceptive Bill Kerman 1234. I agree with basically all the points you made. And the takeaway from the space race in the 60s isn't that multiple different organizations collaborating on one venture, private or otherwise, is bad. The takeaway is that having a central, well-made plan that everyone involved sticks to rigorously is critical, regardless of who makes it. Bingo. This applies between both organizations, NASA and space. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's going to cost the same amount no matter what. It is the accountability and the management. It's a programmatic thing. Yes. Doesn't matter if it's commercial. Doesn't matter if it's public. That is a great way to say that. Yes, exactly. Yes, we're on the same page. Brilliant. You ask people what NASA's human spaceflight program is doing? I don't know. They might be going to the moon sometime soon. What is NASA doing these days? What is SpaceX doing these days? They're building a ship to get people to Mars. Everyone on the street knows that. Do you see the difference? See what I'm talking about? Billy Bot, thanks for the Prime sub. I appreciate it. Do you think with that pressure they could make a lunar landing happen by 2028? Yeah, you could. Depends on how fast SpaceX gets Starship going, to be honest. SpaceX even has timeline goals, unlike someone. SpaceX sets lofty goals. They're usually late on those goals, but they get them done. See the difference? See what I mean about making about deadlines? Even if you don't make them, that's the difference between what Starship is doing and what SLS is doing. See the difference? It doesn't matter if it's commercial or public. It does not matter, I'm telling you right now. Because at the end of the day, all rockets are subject to physics, and you still have to pay a certain amount of money to beat the laws of physics. What you do after you've done that is up to you. Now, SpaceX wants to make basically a Boeing 747 that goes to Mars. I'm in. Let's do it. It's still going to be expensive. Still going to cost a lot. But I'm on board 100%. Elon time is still a goal. Bingo. Yep. What he said is why I believe that the science director should be towards Artemis to support human landings and base building, not sort of a shotgun of everything else. Integrated programs, Hellfish. Your science mission directorate needs to feed your exploration operations directorate. If they don't play off of each other, Surveyor to Apollo, Shuttle to Hubble. If they don't play off each other, it doesn't happen. And then you get infighting between these two entities. Viper gets canceled because it's taking up too much funds. Those funds need to go to Artemis. Even though Viper, see, in that particular scenario, it's idiotic because Viper is one of those missions, and they're still canceling it because they're squabbling over everything because there's no goal. You have to get everything. You have to get everything to work for you. You have to leverage the entire system to work for you. Ugh. I'm not even that pissed about this anymore, man. Like, I know what needs to be done, and I'm trying to tell people, right? But, yeah. I'm not even, dude, to be honest, I'm not even that mad at Eric Berger anymore. Like, we agree on, like, 90% of things nowadays. His conclusions are just a little bit different than mine. Like, it's like, I've gotten to the point where this doesn't bother me. I know what needs to be fixed, and I know how to, well, I have a vague understanding of how to fix it, I guess. I would say vague understanding, right? But if we scream into the void enough, maybe somebody will holler back, you know? One of the problems that Artemis was built to fit, one of the problems is that Artemis was built to fit SLS and doesn't have the normal integrated system and then plans to make real integrated systems with a goal. Yes, Yuri, that's correct. The reason why that happened is because somebody tried to work against the system and cancel the entirety of human spaceflight and tried to pawn it all off to commercial. Like, I don't know. Probably about 14 years ago is when this happened. Somebody tried to pull the rug out from our entire manned national space program. And guess what? Congress freaked out. And they put in legislature that mandated engineering design by law to make sure that that would never happen again. Because some bozo decided to leverage against the system instead of having it work for you. Which... oops. You're going to be paying for that one to the tune of $90 billion. We've been paying for that one for the last 15 years. That was a little bit of a observation, we'll say. Dude, this makes me get crazy eyes, dude. See, I got the crazy eyes going. You know, like, this makes me get crazy eyes, man. Like I said, man, there's going to be a day of reckoning. Day of reckoning when Starship gets its human rating certification. Oh, NASA is in for a rude awakening. A rude awakening. Yeah, that's going to be bad. That's going to be bad. They were pushing some oopsie daisies, right? Your 30,000 foot view confusions make total sense to me. That's coming from someone who's worked in the corporate manufacturing world for decades. I don't understand why this is so hard, Bob. We have a template with the Apollo program of exactly how to get this done. And we've just decided we don't want to do that? Like, what's that, Lord Gugu? What are you saying? I was leaving names out of it, but thinking it should happen before the should generate funding in the future. Well, like I said, you know, if that Department of Government Efficiency thing, if I can't believe they called it Doge. All right. If that thing actually, what I'm hoping is that Elon and what's the name of the other guy? I don't know the other guy's name. Viv something or other. I hope they look at NASA and they understand this. Right? If you try to run NASA like a commercial program, it's going to fail because that's what happened. Trying to do that is how we got SLS. Yeah, Vivek, there you go. Yeah, that guy. I hope they look at it and see that it's not cost plus, it's not firm fixed price. It's the programmatic management of NASA has been atrocious for the better part of 15 years. If you're really going to look at NASA, and this is what I'm hoping, if you're really going to look at NASA, because NASA is not the same. The post office is not UPS, okay? They're not the same thing. Not even close, right? They completely different modus operandi, but they do more or less the same thing, right? They, take thing and move it over there, right? What is a rocket but a logistics transport company? You take thing and move it up there, right? Same idea. But the post office runs completely differently than like UPS or FedEx, right? I'm hoping when they go to look at this, they understand that. And what happens is they look at, okay, you're spending crazy amounts of money, you're not doing anything. So maybe look at how NASA was structured during a time where they spent a lot of money and did a lot of things. Okay? And look at that and be like, okay, that's what we need to do. That's what I'm hoping. We need a new boogeyman. I don't think we need a boogeyman, David. I think the American public would be very receptive to... I think the vast majority of people would be very receptive to a really nice, healthy national space program. Dude, we all want Star Trek. We all want Starfleet. We all want to explore the cosmos. That's something that everybody can get behind. I mean, there's going to be few people that, there's the aliens people. But, have we ever stopped and wondered that, there might be people that are super skeptical of of the U.S. going to the moon 50 years ago and then never doing it again? Maybe if we kept going to the moon, there wouldn't be people like that. Just saying. Repost. Then we get missions like Europa Clipper, which has nothing to do with Artemis. Cool mission, but useless for getting to the moon and Mars. Correct. And Europa Clipper struggled for funding. Their way to rope it together was to launch it on SLS. Without that, you're leaving that program wide open for catastrophe from a funding standpoint. Fortunately, it went through. But nobody ever bothers to understand, Hellfish, that Europa Clipper is a $5.2 billion program. You save some money launching in a Falcon Heavy, though. Very important part of space travel is who keeps the knowledge and the intellectual property. The whole point of NASA, Lord Gugu, is to use government funding to develop things that would not be commercially viable and make them viable. NASA has a system called TRL. No, it's not Total Request Live. It's called Technology Readiness Level. The whole point of NASA is to bring something from TRL 1, which means the commercial market has no chance of doing this, to Technology Readiness Level 5, an off-the-shelf component. Something that anyone can buy. That's the whole point. And they have to be blazing a trail to do this, not be dependent on commercial contractors to do this. That takes NASA's entire governing philosophy and makes it useless. If the commercial is just doing all the innovating, why does NASA exist? You see the dangerous precedent that's being set here, right? It's not a good idea. I'm telling you, not a good idea. Not smart, but here we are. Sally Jones is not a department, but an advisory council. Yeah, Spartan, I don't know the nitty gritty, and frankly, I don't want to. Until it has something to do with spaceflight, I don't really care. But yeah, interesting point. That was not a reference you were expecting. You remember TRL, Kralani? You remember that? Total Request Live with Carson Daly. Jeez. EJ for U.S. Senate. Dude, I don't want to join that damn clown fiesta. Frick that. Make me NASA administrator if I'm gonna do if I'm gonna be part of the circus. I'm choosing my job, okay? I'm gonna be part of the damn circus. All right. With that being said, check this out, dudes. Look, we got some new Starship pictures. SpaceX has been posting this over the past couple of hours. Look at that stuff. Oh, baby. Look at the shock. The shock is coming from the first shock right there is coming from this, and then that shock, the aft one, is coming off the back of the flap. See them right there? Look at that. Oh, that's cool, dude. You can't pay for simulation like that. No way. Looks like it's buckled a little bit though up in here. Will SpaceX eventually pursue space exploration without NASA? They already, I mean, yeah, Dean. Starship was going to happen regardless of HLS, dude. Yeah. It's going to happen either way. Well, you can by actually doing it. Hence, simulation vans. Dude, this, you know, and don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not some, like, old space stooge that's stuck in the, you know, we need to have a national program. Dude, I am about as big of a Starship fanboy as I can be. Part of how I look at this, guys, part of this is you need your commercial program to be firing on all cylinders, but you also need your government program to be firing on all cylinders. We only have one right now, which is why I really don't ever have any criticism of SpaceX, because they're doing everything that I want. I just want NASA to do the same thing as well. And that is the most sustainable way forward. That's the most sustainable way forward by a long shot. Because we've seen what happens when it's all government. When it's all government, some bureaucrat or the president can just pull the plug on and be like, nope, we don't need this. Bye. Apollo, Constellation, good examples. Space Station Freedom, if you really, really, I mean, there's a little bit of an asterisk next to that one, but if you really want to be technical. How about the DoD pulling out of the shuttle program in 85 and basically dooming NASA to use a Department of Defense vehicle for exploration for the next 20 years? Oops. Or 1986, excuse me. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I want SpaceX, I want SpaceX to succeed. I want them to succeed. In no way should SpaceX slow down to try and have NASA keep up. No, absolutely not. No way. Not a chance. SpaceX should fire on all cylinders, and guess what, dude? NASA needs to wake up, and if they don't, if they get to a point where SpaceX can get to the moon and they can't, which that, I mean, let's be real, that point is rapidly approaching. And Starship gets its human rating certification, and SpaceX can go end to end from the surface of Earth to the surface of the moon. NASA's gonna have to take a long look in the mirror at that point. I think that's a point of no return. When that happens, no, there's no reason to have SLS anymore. There's no reason. And it will get canned. I don't want that. I really don't. I don't think that's a good idea. Shmamaron, by the end of the decade, I would say if I had to bet that Starship is going to get a human rating certification 2028. That's my guess. Looking at how SpaceX is scaling and where they're going, 2028. Right around the time of Artemis 3. Or what we think Artemis 3 is going to be. We don't know when that's going to happen. New Glenn is totally vertical. Yeah, baby. Look at that thing. All right. HLS human rating or launching with people? Polaris 3, Eric's. Polaris 3. This theory is based off of the NSF, NASA Space Flights, where Jack and Sawyer interviewed Jared Isaacman, and they asked him about future missions. And Rook said something that was very telling. What he said, you know, Jack asked him, when's Polaris 2? When's Polaris 3? When is this next mission going to happen? I understand it's not going to happen soon. When is it going to happen? And Rook said, it's basically going to happen on the same intervals between Polaris Dawn and Inspiration 4. And that was 2 years. So that puts Polaris 2 sometime in 2026, whatever that may be. Personally, I think Dragon Resilience is going to dock to a Starship in low Earth orbit. and they're going to test SpaceX's EVA suits and test their airlock. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my personal opinion. If that happens in 2026, Starship should get its human-rated certification in 2028 when Polaris 3, the first crewed Starship launch, should happen. That's my theory. I think Rook laid out the timeline, but he was very cryptic about it. Crazy thought. I wonder if the shuttle had the capability to fly autonomously. Would the DoD have stayed on? It did, Bob. You could have made it fly by itself. You would have to hotwire it, and they said they deemed it not feasible. But that would be really cool. The shuttle could do what Buran did. It would just need to be hotwired, and they would have needed to have changed a lot of things, and basically, just that, hotwired the dang thing to get it to do it. To get the computers to interface with the controls, because there's no loop there. It's just controls interface to computer. There's no computer back to the controls, so you'd need to hotwire a lot of things. I actually read about this. You could have made it do what Buran did. It would have been, yeah, it could do it, but they didn't want to do it because it would have been changing too many things. But yeah, if it was fully autonomous, at least for the meantime, yeah, dude, that would have been a good idea. If the shuttle had that capability from Buran Energia of just flying autonomously first, the shuttle program would have went a lot different. That's a lot of things that have to go right in a relatively short amount of time. Well, Eric, that actually brings me to the next thing. Here, there are some more pictures of Starship. Take a look. Oh, I like that one. That one's pretty rad. Which is almost 10 years from prototype to functional. Yeah, interesting how that works, Bran. It's almost like I've had a lot of time to think about this stuff. I'm pretty damn confident in my estimates. I wouldn't be saying it if I wasn't. Oh, this is great. Booster 13 did nothing wrong. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. It's that damn antenna. The more and more I think about this, dude, that dang antenna leaning over. I mean, a couple people said in chat, Aqualex, if you're here, you said it in chat. If that thing is leaned over and it has a GPS transponder on it, no. Do not try to land on your multi-bajillion-dollar launch pad that you only have one of. Because if it leaned over and moved like 2 or 3 meters in one direction, and Super Heavy's trying to interface with it, right? That means it's going to think the chopsticks are 2 to 3 meters closer to the tower. And then it would smash into the tower. That's why it aborted. They started putting up scaffolding around the tower. Yep. Fun fact, the shuttle could actually fly uncrewed out of the box. They just needed to add one small cable in the cockpit. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you needed to hotwire it. They built the cable and shipped it to the ISS post-Columbia. If a shuttle got stranded on orbit, it would dock to the ISS, the cable would be installed, and it would return without crew. If I recall correctly, the cable is still up there. Correct. Yep. Thoughts on Starship potentially going back to transpiration cooling? Oh, we had a big thing, Torlav. I did a big thing on talking about what transpiration and film cooling and ablative cooling and supersonic retropropulsion was yesterday. I unfortunately had a disgusting migraine when I did, so my explanations weren't the best. But Torlav, Elon said potentially a metallic ullage or transpiration liquid cooled thermal protection system could potentially be on the table. Here's the trade-offs there. If you went full metallic, all right, it would be perfect. You would never have to maintain your heat shield because it's metal, right? You would never have to maintain it. The problem with metallic, full-on metallic heat shields is that they're mechanically complex. A full metallic heat shield, for example, a fully metallic heat shield like on Venture Star would be it's a titanium plate with an Inconel housing behind it and aluminum cilia fibers in it. It's like 3 or 4 pieces that you have to bolt together to make the tile, and then you have to bolt that with 4 bolts, Inconel bolts, might I add. You have to bolt that to the vehicle. That's complicated, hard to mass produce, especially with titanium, Inco, aluminum cilia. That's hard. That's a lot of manufacturing. Could SpaceX do it? Sure. But you got it. Once again, SpaceX's goals are very clearly defined. They want to mass produce Starships. That's why they opted to go with unifibrous composite tiles first, because that was the easiest thing to manufacture. If you make a lot of them, it's not a big deal. You can scale to produce a lot of Starships, right? Here's the thing. Tiles fall off. They fall off all the time, or they get damaged, like on STS-27, or they fall off. Tiles are easy to... This is what I was trying to say yesterday. Tiles are really easy to manufacture, and you can make a lot of them. It is a pain in the butt to maintain a tile-based thermal protection system. So the reason why SpaceX did it is because it's easy to manufacture, and they want to make a lot of Starships. They're running into some issues, though, with these press-on tiles. They come off. They fall off. The ship buckles and moves in re-entry. We saw Ship 31 take a beating during re-entry. I mean, it still made it for what it's worth. It still made it, but you saw it take a beating, and it bent and flex under the heating loads. And that actually made some tiles delaminate from the bottom of the vehicle because the vehicle was flexing like this. It was flexing right here, where coincidentally where one of the biggest ripples is. And that spread the tiles apart on the bottom of the vehicle, and plasma got in there and it just obliterated the bottom side of the vehicle. You see it when the thing comes down to land. It's missing a whole like 2 or 3 rows of tiles right at the bulkhead between the top of the methane tank and the payload bay. So now you're running into other problems here. You know, tiles are hard to maintain. They pop off. It's really easy for them to pop off because they go from being in vacuum, kind of hot, to superheated during reentry, and then back to ambient in a matter of like 8 minutes. It's a tough thermodynamic regime. So that's why SpaceX and Elon are looking at metallic supplemented by a transpiration cooling system. Transpiration cooling is probably metallic tiles are the best one, but that takes a lot of time. So if you simplify your metallic tile to make it easy to install, you're going to need something else because that won't do it, right? It won't do it completely by itself. You need something else to film cool it. So if you had like an Inco tile, right? And then on Starship's belly, like all along here with their transfer tube where the header tag tube is, if you had a manifold system that had a couple of like pintle injected thrusters all down the belly of Starship when it's coming in for a landing, and then you replaced everything with metal tiles, dude, that'd work. Yeah, you'd use your tankage gases out the bottom, or use your transfer tube to liquid cool it. Yeah, you'd basically have to put a sprinkler system on the bottom here. But your tiles are metallic, and your TPS is right down the center here. That would work. I think, that's how I would at least attempt to do it. What do I know, though? I just play with 3D Starship models. Right, and oh yeah, these tiles during the tower catch, the vehicle's going to bend and flex being caught by the chopsticks. You're asking more tiles to fall off at that point. What about using both types of tiles? You could, if you want the worst of both worlds, sure. Don't get me wrong, SpaceX might not go away from using the unifibrous tiles that they're using now. They need to find a better way to adhere them. There is not a lot of knowledge known about adhering a unifibrous composite tile to 304X stainless steel. You know why? Because no one's done that, which is why SpaceX is looking, which is why they're going into like Revue and trying to, weigh their options here. Would pumping cryogenic into the heat shield work? Yes, Kirak, yeah. First of all, you'd want to use methane. Second of all, Starship already has the plumbing because you have your header tanks up here. You have your header tanks, right? And then you have your transfer tube. It's right there. You give that a distribution manifold, right? And use autogenous pressurization to build head pressure in that during reentry. and then you use what methane left you have in your header tank down here, not up here, pump it right through. SpaceX has already demonstrated that they can move propellant from the methane tank to the header tank and back. They did that on Flight 3, remember? So it's clear to me that there's some system to allow prop transfer back and forth. And if you can prop transfer back and forth, you could put a bunch of, if it was me, I would put pintle injectors down here. You could put a bunch of pintle thrusters down here, right? And when Starship falls, when it does its belly flop, right, you have them right down the spine of it, and it basically flows out on both sides. And you film cool your metallic TPS. That simplifies your thermal protection system and leverages a technology that's already on Starship. That's why SpaceX is looking to do that. It's not a bad idea. I was thinking about this in bed while my head was pounding last night. And make things out of clay, lay by the bay, I just may. What do you say? Yeah, I don't want to show that picture. I don't know if that picture has been signed off. I won't do it out of respect to SpaceX. Oh, yeah, there you go, Aqualex. Yeah, if the GPS transponder is moved, then you got a big problem. Why not just weld the tiles? Well, you can if they're metal. The other thing I think that SpaceX saw from Ship 31 is that the stainless steel can actually tank a lot more heat than they thought. If you're going to simplify it to the point where you don't need as many tiles, that kind of defeats the purpose of mass producing unifibrous tiles, because you don't need as many tiles as you thought you did. And the mass of, Elon said on Twitter yesterday, that the mass of the tiles right now is very much approaching their mass estimates for a transpiration cooled metallic system. And if you're doing that, the reason why is because you already have the fuel distribution system between the header tanks, and the main tank. You already have a way to move propellant around this thing. All you got to do is put the pieces together. That's not a lot of mass, and then you could simplify your tile design. Thinking about it, it's actually pretty smart, dude. I mean, you'd need to test it. You'd need to test it a lot. Yeah. Look at the temperature, heat, oxidization colors. That skin got to about 600 F. That's not bad, Hellfish, considering reentry heating, like the bow shock is like 3000 F. That's pretty good. Starship can tank a lot of heat. I don't think SpaceX even thought that it would tank this much heat. The way Kate and Jesse were talking at the beginning of the cast, they were like, no, it's not. Don't be surprised if it doesn't make it through reentry. I think using stainless is actually pretty damn smart. I think starships are able to, like I said, absorb and tank heat better than most people thought. Tank a lot of heat, pun. The tanks are also super cold. That adds, right? Because because the cryogenic propellants being in there actually, makes it so your thermal delta is actually higher. You can actually absorb more heat because the stainless steel is cold to begin with. It's actually, dude, I'm telling you, it's really smart. The more and more I think about stainless, the more and more I think, damn, that was a good decision, dude. Trying to do that with aluminum right there, your ship would rip to shreds. Like a knife through butter. Actually, like a plasma knife through butter. The ship did the best during reentry in some ways, despite having the most limited heat shield. Did they do this throughout trajectory adjustments? The reentry profile, Admiral, was pretty much identical to Ship 30 as far as I could tell. They dipped the nose down for an angle of attack to... My guess is that they knew that this was going to get all weakened here. So they put the vehicle in a position where it could potentially become aerodynamically unstable to make the thing compensate and basically shock load the hull of the ship structurally to see if it ripped in half. It stayed together, dude. She's a tank. Like, dude, starships are nuts, man. It is crazy what this thing actually does. I can't, oh yeah, it's a little warped up. Dude, if this thing was made out of aluminum, there would be nothing left. You would never find a piece of it. This thing made it through in one piece. The only thing that broke it was splashing down in the water. Think about it like this, dudes. If this Starship had those little flippy boy landing legs and there was a drone ship out there, it would have landed and it would be fine. It'd be a little banged up, but it'd be fine. Think of, okay, if that didn't convince you, let me put it to you like this. If there was a pressure vessel and life support systems inside of Ship 31, somebody could have ridden this thing down and they probably would have been fine. Now, don't get me wrong. Probably would have been fine is not how you space flight. Challenger probably was going to be fine until it wasn't. Same with Columbia. That's not how you do things. But for just some context for how good Starship is as a reentry vehicle already, somebody could have, if you had a seat with a life support system inside of the payload bay, like if you put a Dragon capsule inside this Starship's payload bay and just suspended it there like that banana, you'd be fine. Somebody would have survived this. Think about that for a second. It's pretty cool. I wouldn't be surprised if this Starship developed a bit of a droop snoot. It actually drooped up, Aqualex, from what I can tell. Because if we watch Ship 31's landing, it's missing a bunch of tiles right here because the entire ship buckled this way. It curved like a banana, ironically. Yeah. Bob, what SpaceX is most likely, based per what Elon said, what SpaceX is most likely thinking about now is the way to make the simplest heat shield, given the fact that the stainless steel is, like, what is the minimal amount of heat shield we need to make sure the stainless steel doesn't do this? And if they figure that out, oh boy. It'd be nuts. It drooped the wrong way. The legs in the drone ship, I mean. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Do you think if they double hulled the belly of Starship from the header down and used that as a flat header tank and tank the heat into the fuel? You could do that, Andrew. Transpiration cooling basically does that, but you got to remember, if you're heating up your liquid methane, you don't have liquid methane for landing because your propellant boils off. Transpiration cooling, at least with transpiration cooling, you basically put a bunch of sprinklers on the windward side of Starship, right? And turn the sprinkler system on during reentry. Your fuel does burn. That's basically what it does. It takes methane and uses methane as to film cool. Uses methane as your heat sink. Believe it or not, methane is really, really good at conducting heat. Most fuels are. Yeah. This is why, like, if anybody here is a fan of carburetors, like, it needs to get absurdly hot for a carburetor to stop working. Like, we're talking like well past 100°C for a carb to stop working, because gasoline can absorb a lot of heat before it becomes useless, before it starts boiling. It's called vapor lock. Not fun. Yeah, Bob, exactly. SpaceX got to be careful, but the way they're doing it is very smart. These are good discussions in both chats going on here. I think nickel titanium will be the tile of choice. Yeah. Hellfish, that would be a good idea if you're making like 4 or 5 of these, but you got to remember, they want to make 400. They want to crank out a Starship every 8 hours. You're not cranking out a Starship every 8 hours with titanium anything. There's not enough titanium in the world. What I'm looking forward to is fully orbital missions now that they've demonstrated a vacuum relight. I think the next one's going orbital, Admiral. Absolutely. Flight 7's going orbital. So it's supersonic retropropulsion, but using fuel as the buffer. Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dead scum. That's what transpiration cooling is. Yeah, you basically spray, instead of spraying rocket exhaust, you just spray the fuel. It's much simpler because you don't have to fire a rocket engine to do it. He's ignoring my Ship 26 comment. Ship 26 sucks. Go away. Actually, they scrapped more of it today. Another piece of it came out of the high bay, Dean. Oh, I can't wait to give Kevin crap about that tomorrow. That's going to be excellent. But I'm looking forward to, okay, so it's supersonic retro propulsion. Okay. Ship 26 slander will not be tolerated. Bro, this is my stream. This ain't NSF. You ain't in, you think you're in the easy peasy street of NSF, right? Where we tolerate crappy opinion. Hell no, this is my stream. Ship 26 sucks, and Ares 1 is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. In my stream, I'm the main character here, boy. Sorry. What a piece of junk. It's just a tube. It ain't no spaceship. It's just a tube. Hail, stick. That's right. Look at me. I am the captain now. What ship do you think they'll implement transpiration cooling on? If they decide to do it, Yuri, 38. 38 or 39. What's the highest serial number ship we've seen? Like 35, 36? SpaceX, if they decide to do that, they're going to either A, start retooling for it and switch to doing that with whatever ship is closest to, like, has the lowest completion percentage, or they're just going to start anew, like with Block 2. I thought you were EJ, not the captain now. Shut up. 69, dudes! Yeah, Ares 1 is a Chad tier rocket. Dude, seriously, something like Ares 1 actually would be an insanely good commercial launch vehicle. If you gave it a 5-meter fairing, really good launch vehicle. Sorry, it's true. Be an excellent launch vehicle. Your first stage, reusable. It's refurbishable, but if you employ it in mass, makes perfect sense. Now I just gotta make J2s. Very simple engine. Just saying. Ship 37 or 38 parts. Yeah, if they were gonna go with it, sure. Kevin won't be on tomorrow. He'll be on in the morning. Oh, that's a shame. That Kevin. It looks like that buckling was at one of the seams. Maybe it buckled due to welding issues. It buckled because the stainless... So, Kevin, when stainless steel starts absorbing heat, it starts to warp badly. Very badly. That's what these pictures are right here, see? See what I'm talking about? That's what this is. Look, it's exactly where the tiles were. See all the warping that's going on? See how it's all wavy? That's what happens. It'll basically buckle the entire Starship hull. It'll basically like want to bend up. And when it does, you're bending the seams of the tiles on the bottom of the vehicle and inviting heat in there. Well, in this case, plasma, which is why during re-entry we saw tons of sparks coming from the bottom of the vehicle, because that's what happened. B-Flav, what's up, man? So I worry that the public won't stomach the launch cadence. Needed to refuel Starship in orbit. Do we know what the current estimate is on the number of flights needed to refuel? It's about 16. And how much would an expendable booster be able to cut that number down? I wouldn't want to expend boosters, B-Flav. If the 16 refueling missions or refilling missions for Starship HLS become a problem, SpaceX will expend Starships, not Super Heavies. Super Heavy is too technically complicated to expend that 16 times. They would expend Starships. That's my guess. Think about it, right? Like, Starship's way simpler to make than Super Heavy. And if SpaceX doesn't have the thermal protection system solved by the time they need to send an HLS out there, they'll just expend the Starships and just keep doing what they're doing right now. Right? My theory, Elon has truly mastered manufacturing. He could spool up and pump out metal tiles real quick. Getting that much titanium manufacturing, that's a big problem. Exactly, Bob. Look, think about it like this. It's 2018. Starship is still carbon composite, right? It's still carbon fiber like Neutron, right? And SpaceX ran into a problem. There's not enough carbon fiber to manufacture thousands of these things. That's why they switched to stainless in the first place. So if SpaceX's past precedents are indicative of how they would go about engineering something nowadays and how they would go about trying to solve a thermal protection problem, they would go with a cheaper off-the-shelf component, right? They would try to find a medium between a cheaper off-the-shelf component and something that is technically complicated, right? Stainless steel is a really good idea, but there's plenty of stainless steel to mass produce these things, right? So that's why they went with it. So your thermal protection system needs to be something that's as plentiful as stainless steel. That's why SpaceX started scaling tiles first. All the tiles for all the Starships are made at Roberts Road at Kennedy Space Center, if I'm remembering correctly. They started scaling tiles first because they knew that that's something that wasn't off the shelf that they'd have to make a lot to match the plentifulness of stainless steel. So whatever system they come up with, right, needs to be something that's a resource that's plentiful. Now, propellant as your thermal protection system with transpiration cooling is very plentiful. So what do you make your metal tiles out of? You got to make them out of something that's good at absorbing heat that you have a lot of. Maybe, regular steel is too heavy. SpaceX has made aluminum tiles in the past, but that's like making brake rotors out of cheese, to quote Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah. If they expended 16 super heavies, there would be 528 engines in the ocean. Yeah, Trey. If push comes to shove and they don't have the TPS solved by the time HLS comes around, they will expend the Starships and just do test landings, right? They would just do test landings. But getting super heavy back is like righteously important. Yeah, Starship, you can't expend 16 super heavies. SpaceX would go bankrupt. Do you guys see why, like 2 or 3 years ago, Elon, that memo from Elon leaked about the SpaceX potentially facing bankruptcy if they couldn't scale Raptors? Case in point. Is Inco too heavy? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, Ryzen. Inco would be great, but Inconel is pretty heavy. Delightfully counterintuitive. Yeah, exactly, Kuchiman. Think about that when you think about how SpaceX would do this. I think the transpiration cooling is a great idea because you already have the transfer tube and Starship already has the ability to move propellants around already. It's actually not a bad idea. It's a system that already exists, right? So in this particular case, the best part is no part with your heat shield because the best part is something that you've already made. It actually makes sense when you think about it. I was sitting in bed. This is how I fall asleep, guys. This is how I fall asleep at night. I sit there thinking about stuff like this because I'm me. What about Inco tiles with coolant channels engineered into them? You could do something like that, Creation, but remember that's more technical complexity, right? If you're using a metallic heat shield, if you're using metal tiles with ullage or film cooling or transpiration cooling, your metal tile needs to be as simple as possible. Mechanically simple as possible. Right? Aren't they already having issues with Inco supply? It's not Inco, Admiral. It's other things. Other metals. Yeah. It's not the Inco. Inco's all over the place. It's everywhere in the aerospace industry. Inconel is a nickel super alloy. Titanium would make it light, but it would also make it super tough. If they found a way to mass produce those tiles, help is sure, but remember, it has to be something plentiful. You heard what SpaceX said. 400 Starships over the next couple of years. They want to get to the point where they're cranking a Starship out of Starbase every 8 hours. You need your thermal protection system to be something that's very plentiful, that's very simple. It's a hard problem to solve. There's a reason why Elon said this is a difficult thing to solve for them. It's not that they can't make a reusable heat shield. The shuttle did that in the 1970s. They had that figured out. It's making a rapidly reusable heat shield that you can mass produce. That last part is very important. Right? That's super important, dude. I fall asleep thinking about this stuff too. It works every time. Yeah. Meat shield! Dude, Dake makes a great ablative heat shield. It's carbon based, just like a heat shield already is. A pretty good ablative heat shield. That's all I'm saying. Why would they want to be producing one every 8 hours? That's a good question, Fred. It stems from SpaceX's well-stated goals. Space Exploration Technology Corporation's primary stakeholder expectation is to make life multiplanetary. Not send a person to Mars, not send a plant to Mars, not send a rover to Mars. Make life multiplanetary. Building a city on Mars is their stated goal, right? Now, Fred, if that sounds nuts, yes. Can you honestly like look at Elon Musk and be like, yeah, that guy's normal? Like, he said it himself on Saturday Night Live. He's like I chose to make electric cars and reusable spaceships. Do you think I was going to be normal? He said, that's what he said. He said that on an SNL speech one time. I mean, yeah, it's a crazy freaking goal. But if you actually start to sit there and think about what that means, that means building fleets of ships. That basically, if you want to boil it down to a crucible, that basically means making something that can get to Mars basically anytime and in high numbers. So you want to make a 747 that can fly to Mars and back and be fully reusable. That is hard to do. That is a really difficult thing to accomplish. But Starship makes sense if you think about their stated goals. That's why they want to make one every 8 hours. Now, here's the thing. Starships need to get to Mars. You can only go to Mars every 26 months because Earth and Mars is in a higher orbit, so it takes a longer time to do one revolution. So there's only every 26 months is only when Earth and Mars get close to each other, so you can transfer. Right? When that happens, SpaceX wants to make life multiplanetary, right? You want to be multiplanetary. You're not sending one Starship. One Starship is not going to make a city on that planet. 100 of them will. Right? You want 100 Starships, each with like 20 people on them. Enough to make a city on Mars in one shot. That's why they want to make, that's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they want to make a Starship, one Starship every 8 hours, because you need to scale. You need to scale if you want to do that. Dude, we're talking fleets of Starships flying in formation on transfer burns to Mars. That's what SpaceX wants to do. And guess what, Fred? They're close to doing it, man. They're almost there. We're close to this happening. Can you believe that? Never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, dude. This is like some Star Trek or Expanse stuff going on here. Or For All Mankind later seasons. This is nuts, dude. I want it, dude. Dude. I want it. I want it. It would make me so happy. I agree with Hellfist. The titanium can be startlingly thin, something between a sheet of foil resting on the edges of an Inconel support web. Well, that's what I mean. Mechanical complexity is something that they'd be willing to, that SpaceX would want to avoid. That doesn't mean it can't be done, right? There's more titanium in aerospace than you would first think. I'm not sure that the titanium supply would get that stressed if they went that way. That, and for the number of times you could use Inco as the skin if it's not trying to bear the forces of holding Starship together. Epstein drive, pretty please. Well, Bob, Brim and I were watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds the other day, we finished season 2, and yes, it's really good. It's really good Star Trek. If you like TNG or TOS, Strange New Worlds is right up your alley. Discovery sucks. Strange New Worlds, though, is amazing. Ba-bum. Cool. Right? I was watching, like, there are unforeseen things. There are things that are hard to see, right? Like, cast your mind back to like 1966, right? The Apollo program needs a digital flight computer to get people to the moon. They need a digital flight computer. You need fly-by-wire to be able to control it. NASA figured that out with the LLRV, almost killing Neil Armstrong. they need that flight computer. They need the flight computer to interpolate human actions so you can react fast enough, because landing on the moon is a little bit different than landing an airplane, right? You don't have any wings. There's no insurance, right? You can't go around, right? So a flight computer was needed, right? Fly-by-wire systems were needed for going to the moon. Look at post-Apollo. Look at 1976. Somebody came up with the idea of putting it in an airplane, right? Now, fast forward to today. Most commercial planes are fly-by-wire. Well, not most. Airbuses are fly-by-wire. An A320 is fly-by-wire. It's all that way. That is a technology that came out of this that was kind of unforeseen, right? It revolutionized commercial airlines, right? By using a fly-by-wire system, where you basically have a computer interpolating commands given by a person on the flight deck, and that the computer applying those commands to your control surface system, right? That was an unforeseen thing. Okay, so where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that, dude, we don't even know what the unforeseen things are that's going to come if SpaceX succeeds in what they're trying to do. You know, you say you want the Epstein drive. It'll be a lot easier to generate power in space when you have an army of vehicles that can move hundreds of tons of components a week into low Earth orbit. You never know what someone's going to cook up then. Epstein drive, nuclear thermal, rotating detonators. Dude, all of that is on the table if SpaceX does this. All of it is on the table. The 737-8 is basically Skynet. Yeah. You see what I'm saying, man? Dude, we are on the cusp of Starfleet in real life. We're like this close. Man. Is their after hours satisfactory? Yeah, screw it. Sure. Not that this is much of a good comparison, but all iPhone Pro models are titanium. Since last year, and upper and Apple Series 10 and Ultra 2s, millions of these are sold per year. Okay, so I guess, I mean, if titanium is scalable, Apollo, yeah, if what you were saying and what Oculus is saying is right, if the titanium industry can keep up, a titanium plated tile with ullage cooling, you will never have to maintain that. Titanium doesn't care. Titanium don't care. It's the honey badger of metals. It doesn't give a frick, and it's it's oxidation resistant. It doesn't rust. It doesn't corrode. It just sits there, which is pretty cool. That coupled with stainless, not a bad idea. Could we talk about Enterprise? What do you mean, Bargon? I'm not sure what bearing that has on the subject, Gratian, but, I mean, unless you just wanted to explain that matter-of-factly to take Boeing down a peg or two, I'm not sure how saying the MAX has killed people is relevant to this discussion, but, you know, you do you. You know SpaceX would make their own ally that's magically 2 times better. But it starts with something that's readily available, Phil. That's where their mind's at, right? Like, they named the Starship lunar lander Enterprise. So the thing I have on the screen, we talking about these things? Oh, bro, I want this. I want it. That's, the engines are wrong. Wait, why are the engines all offset? Oh, that's screwing with my head. I hate it. Please get it off the screen. Okay. You will run into some issues on the metal-to-metal contacts, though. Dissimilar metals and thermal cycles are major corrosion accelerators. That's just a known factor that can be designed around. Just be ready for some crazy rust stains. Yeah. Oh, I want this. You just made a point why we should always be doing space exploration, solving problems that can be applied in other places. Psycho, no one understands, especially people that don't see spaceflight as a worthwhile endeavor, no one understands the Apollo program on the technical side of things, like the tech industry. Apollo program sparked the entire tech industry. It revolutionized software, computing, miniaturization of digital processors. The Apollo program is the direct reason why this exists. No ifs, ands, or buts. This can trace its roots right to the AGC. First time you have digital processors, RAM. So it was rope memory, but you have RAM, you have digital processor, you have power supply, like how a computer is put together. You notice how just computers kind of came along in the 70s? That's because the Apollo program pushed us forward for digital processing by probably like 20 years. All of a sudden it was Star Wars, you know what I mean? This is almost like a tricorder from Star Trek, man. Like, what this thing does? This thing's ridiculous. This thing is something from sci-fi, but everybody has one. Imagine what would happen if we, like, if, you know, I want NASA to ramp up. Imagine if NASA, you know, went full strong arm on like a Martian exploration program, or even restarting a lunar exploration program, but like not SLS, like seriously, like four SLS launches a year. At the very least, establishing a lunar base. You have no idea. Like, we don't even know what we'd cook up. It would be insane. The next thing you know, like, we go to do that, and then 10 years down the road, we have matter antimatter replicators. Like, just dilithium crystal. Here you go. Here's your food. Solve that problem. Post scarcity, dude. Like, you don't know what could happen. It'd be excellent. This is what I live for, man. I live for this stuff. This is great. Please do more of it. I'm still waiting for the holodeck. Well, we got VR headsets. That's kind of cool. We are our entire modern world of the Apollo program. Yep. F-16 and F-15 wouldn't have been possible without the computer revolution. Fly-by-wire creation. Gee, I wonder where they got that idea from. They got it from the LEM. Hello? Space is putting us in a scenario where it forces you to innovate. You don't have a choice. You want to go further in space, you have to innovate. And through those innovations, we get paradigm shifts in let's say paradigm leaps forward, right? In technological progress. And that technological progress comes back to us and helps people down here. Like, think about it like this, okay? You want to build a base on the moon. If anybody out there is skeptical, think about it like this. You want to build a base on the moon. That base on the moon has to be perfect. You can't, no carbon emissions. Can't do that. How are you generating power? You burning fossil fuels? You don't have that on the moon. Whatever base we use on the moon has to be carbon neutral. It has to be. You don't have a choice in the matter. You die if it's not. Going full ham on something, on a project like that, could help us here down on Earth where carbon emissions are an issue in potentially influencing the climate. Right? That could, not only that, but that could help us reverse it if we really wanted it to. That will help us be better stewards of this planet. You know, if climate change is such a big deal, why the frick are we not doing this? Like, just saying. Just saying. Just putting it out there. If you're not carbon neutral or like net zero carbon on the moon, you die because you don't have anything to eat. Some idiot could also accidentally break the replicator and fill the entire promenade with Furbies. Tribbles, thank you very much, Pokey. It's a great episode. Because nukes equal bad. It doesn't have to be nukes creation. It could be, you could do it with solar. Solar is better up there in the vacuum. It's way better up there. You could get it done with solar. Just got to find a way to store the power. I believe there's a guy that's working on that right now, working on building better batteries. What's his name? Melon Tusk or Cantaloupe Head or Cantaloupe Antlers? I forget his name. They could use nuclear on the moon, couldn't they? Well, sure, Brendan. Yeah, you could. We could use nuclear on the moon. The problem is shedding off the heat. There's no way to exchange the heat, unless you wanted you put down radiators and a coolant system that's like the size of a small city. There's no way to shed the heat. The radioactive decay. You'd have to miniaturize nuclear reactors somehow. And then they would have to rely on radiation because you can't convect or conduct anything, right? You'd have to rely on radiation. So you'd need gigantic radiators on your little portable nuclear power plant. Even like a small compact nuclear power plant, let's say it's like the size of a pickup truck or something. You'd need a radiator the size of a football field or a soccer pitch or a football pitch. Whatever combination makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's not, dude, not insurmountable. Once again, if you can move hundreds of tons to the surface of the moon, that don't matter. You could do that, sure, no problem. Just pump it into the ground. We need to warm it up anyway. There, hey, you want to use the, well, would it be geocooling? It's not geothermal, right? It's reverse geothermal. That sounds dirty. Yeah, reverse geothermal, man. Reverse geothermal heat. That is what it's called. Oh, hey, Geo. We weren't talking about you. Hey, what's up? Hey. Yeah, you could use conduction via reverse geothermal heating. That's not a bad idea. Radiant nuclear. Yeah, there you go. Okay, there you go. That's a thing already. Yeah, no, I see it. I see it. I see it. Somebody's thought of this. There you go, man. Like I said, you got to be carbon neutral. You're not carbon neutral on the moon, you're not getting very far. If we were serious and we, not like we were going to go to the moon and then maybe to Mars. If we were serious about this, we would have solved this problem already. Easy peasy. Maybe it would have led to compact nuclear fission reactors, right? Or nuclear fusion reactors, right? And then maybe that leads to, basically energy post-scarcity back on Earth for the most part, like compact fusion, compact nuclear fusion. Couple that with wind and solar, geo, and hydro.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
We could drink oil at that point. Just drink it. Be great. Just burning it for power is dumb. Just drink it. Toast, chink, tink. I need fuel. Do not drink motor oil. Yeah, don't do it. It tastes like dirt. Don't ask me how I know that. The founder of Radiant was previously at SpaceX for 12 years. Nice. We've all been there. Yeah. Tastes like dirt. You've tried? I tasted
Discovery,
motor
go at
oil
throttle up.
on stream one time, Yuri. I was changing the oil in the truck and live streaming it, and I tasted it. It tastes like dirt. Gasoline. Gasoline tastes like dirt too, for what it's worth. It's funny, the stuff that we pump out of dirt tastes like dirt. Weird, huh? Do you still want a car lift? Hey, Rotor, 41 months, just here to resubscribe. What's up, dude? Ooh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Are we at this point in the stream where we're linking up GovPlanet? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I can't look at this. I can't look at this. I can't look at this. Those are actually super cool lifts, though. All right. You playing Flight Sim, Rotor? Cool, cool. Yeah, they're $5. It's an auction, guys. It's going to be... Jet A and JP4 taste like snozberries. Yeah, well, there's a reason why, you know, refueling refueling personnel on an aircraft carrier are called grapes. Because it tastes like snozzberries. Those are for like fire engines. Okay. Yep. Yep. Not surprised, Hellfish. I hope your wife isn't watching. I don't think so. Have I ever tasted RP1? No, Yuri, I haven't. Haven't tasted RP1. Closest thing would be diesel fuel. Haven't ingested diesel fuel. You shouldn't drink fuels and lubricants, just for what it's worth. I'm just saying that as kind of a general, you know, disclosure. Don't drink fuels and lubricants. There's a reason why they're called fuels and lubricants and not potable beverages. Can you drink locks? You can drink locks once. Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Is that far away from you? 8 hours? Maybe a little less. Extra long drink. They make wonderful laxative. Lox makes laxative. Damn it, man. I didn't get to the draft environmental assessment. Is New Glenn still vertical? New Glenn's is still vertical. I forgot to get to this. Ooh. Hey, there you go. Look. Air separator. LOX plant. There it is. SpaceX wants to put a LOX plant down. New Glenn's. Yep. Commodity trenches. That line right there would be for Starship. That one is for Super Duper Heavy. And then they're going to have one tank farm feeding both pads. And that's why they made that D2 gate right there. They're going to get rid of this and expand the tank farm. Dude, this right here is like, this by itself. Just want to say, this whole thing, what they have right now with the subcoolers and everything, and the truck offloading stations and all that other stuff, this by itself is a ridiculous piece of kit. This thing can move like Olympic swimming pools worth of methane in like minutes. It's like the flow rate is all like it's not rocket engines flow rate, but it's higher than every other pad. Let me tell you that. LOX plant in a CH4 pipeline from Port Isabel. Let's go. Where's the pipeline? Oh, that's what we want, Dean. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, that's potential landing zones. They've been landing basically right here. That's where the last two Starships landed. Right there, right where my mouse cursor is. How long did it take to prop load Saturn V? It took hours, Erics, and they did it like a long time before launch. Increased cadence. North Pacific Starship landing area, Hawaii and Central North Pacific area. Cool. Interesting. Huh. This is a potential landing area near South America. Let's see what else. Any other cool pictures? The blast danger area. Yeah. By the way, did you watch that interview with Eric Berger from Fraser Kane? No, I haven't. But I know Fraser, Yuri. Fraser's good people. Do you have 223 phase in the garage? It's wired for it, Shy, but I don't have it. It's wired for it. I got to get an electrician in here to put some 220 outlets in. But yeah, it's wired for it. It's two. I can do. Oh no, what was it? I have 50 amp service in the garage. So I can do 3-phase at 50, I think. It's been a while. I'd have to remember. Do you think that there will be other Starship launch sites besides the Cape? Eventually, Apollo, yes. Not for a little while. Dude, that's the other thing I was thinking about. Do you think 2 pads are going to be able to handle having a Starship roll off the line every 8 hours? 2 pads at the Cape? Maybe 1 pad at the Cape? 2 pads at the Cape? 3 pads at the Cape? No. Dude, you're quite actually going to need like 10 towers at Boca Chica and 10 towers at the Cape to get this to work, to get this to launch and scale. That's why the other day, Apollo, I was trying to come up with the idea of having 1 tower service 2 pads, because that solves that problem, because you need to build half as many towers. Right? How much do you want to bet Australia is the first international launch site? It's possible, Aqualex. In fact, if you guys go look at marine traffic around Starship's landing area, you know, it's speculation and I'm entirely guessing. Dude, they have it. They have Ship 31. They have it. It's floating. They have it. The ships are floating with it. The ships that sent the buoys out there are still out there. They're still out off the west coast of Australia. They're still there, and they're just drifting with the currents. Like they're following something with no propulsion. Just saying. They're still out there. I checked this morning. All right, show us? Okay, give me 1 second. All right, where are you? Where are they? They're over here somewhere. I forget which ones they are, dudes. They left a few hours ago. Interesting. Well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. The last time I checked was this morning. Did they fish the booster out of the drink? I don't know. I think they're going to. I'm looking for any other cool pictures in here. I'm going to have to read this tonight for Flame Trench. I got some homework to do. And so I might have to take a rain check on After Hours, dude. Ooh. The hell? Sound propagation. Ah, here we go. Sound on ascent and descent. This. Yeah, okay. It's loud. Das was talking to some people that wrote a paper about this. Static fire. Interesting. Super heavy RTLS, sound propagation. Pressure contour, second stage RTLS, 68-degree heading landing. Here we go, baby. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Look. The re-entry path. Starship flies right over Matamoros. Oh boy. Cool. Pressure changes. Second stage overpressure contours with Mach-based isopemps for 68-degree heading RTLS trajectory. Ooh, relative ground altitude versus Mach. Mach number, Starship second stage shuttle orbiter. Yeah, see? Look. Interesting. The shuttle and Starship fly on very, very, very similar re-entry trajectories. Is that good or bad? No, it's cool, Huzzah. This means that the programmatic environmental assessment is taking into account receiving a Starship from orbit. What does that mean in plain English? SpaceX is going to bring back a Starship sooner rather than later. That's what that means. That's why I wanted to look through this. There you go. There's your entry trajectory. Elon said Flight 8. Yeah, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Yep. Look, very interesting. Look at the last leg of re-entry. It turns around. You see that? See, it turns around. It's going to go out over the water and do a heading alignment and turn around for the pad. Dude, that's what the shuttle did. Only the shuttle landed on a runway. Starship is going to flip and it's going to land. But it has to approach in the direction of the catch tower. Voice crack. That's awesome. That's so cool, dude. Link? Oh, I got you. This is so badass, man. Oh, that's killer. Yep, vertical launch and vertical landing area. Oh, that's super freaking cool, dude. Link for YouTube? Got you, Jamie. Boom! There you go. Now, U-turn is also partially an abort path. Go straight into the drink if there's a problem. Yeah, that was kind of the same deal with the shuttle, Joe. But, yeah, that never happened, fortunately. Hopefully the same. Hopefully it's the same for Starship. Yeah, Eric, they were testing that kind of stuff, dude. By modulating certain flaps, you can actually get yaw pitch and roll with Starship. So Starship could eventually, you know, like if it's belly flopping, it could flip around and land. Yeah, it can do it. Damn, that's cool. They're catching the ship on Flight 8. Will they also be catching the booster? Because I don't see both pads being operational by then. Yeah, Jack, the chopsticks are kind of this shape, dude. And the chopsticks, both arms have a singular pivot point, right? So they can go this way, they can go over the pad, or they can go this way. My guess is that they'll catch the booster, right? Set the booster down on the OLM, and then turn the chopsticks in a different direction and leave like one open, right? So this is over the OLM, right? They'll move them this way, leave one open, get Starship in, and then close one in on it. And then catch the Starship not over the booster. And then take the sticks and stack the Starship again. We already know it can do that. That's the plan. At least I think that's the plan. How many orbits around are inclination changes? With this type of re-entry trajectory, they said it's coming back from a 68-degree inclination. Hold on. RTLS with swept heading from 22 to 158 degrees. Oh, it could come back anywhere. This is the FAA, John. If it's at like a 30... Oh, we did the math before. I think it was like if it's at 30-degree inclination, it's going to take about 9 orbits. So 9 orbits takes about 90 minutes. That's it's 9 orbits at an hour and 30. I'm starting to get tired. 9 orbits at with a 90-minute orbital period. So 9 times 90, and that gets you your amount of minutes. So it's what, 1,800 minutes? 180 minutes, something like that. It takes about 9 orbits, give or take. Yeah, about a half day. 810 minutes. That's how you know I'm starting to get tired. So, over time, will more reentry options with larger inclination ranges be tested? Well, the FAA document here, level 1, is calling for 22 to 158 degrees here. So anywhere, see this fan out right here? You can receive anywhere from there. That's a very wide range. So yeah, that's my guess. Can't math on stream. Dude, there's boy math, there's girl math, and then there's streamer math. Streamer math is... specifically the flame trench shape. What about it? And then tired math, yeah, right? Wouldn't they have to restack without the Haas staging ring? Well, in the future, you wouldn't have it, but... Oh, boy. So no polar Starship returns. You could do polar from the Cape, level 1. What's that triangle say at the bottom? Flame diverter collection pod. I never said this space news was going to be short, to be honest. It mentioned somewhere that catches can only be performed in daylight. Yeah, that's fair. That's fine. When you're on orbit, daylight comes around. Yeah, I mean, you have flexibility there. Let me put it that way. All right, dudes. I'm going to go over the rest of this, and I'm starting to get tired. The first... Dean, you saying the first ship catch and restack will break EJ? Dude, I love the space shuttle, okay? I love it. The first time that Starship gets fully reused, so SpaceX launches a stack, they catch the booster, a Starship goes up, deploys its payload, comes back down, gets caught, and they restack the same stack in a day, like in one day. I think that's the point where I can let go. Because one of the reasons why I like the shuttle so much is because I think the shuttle design was great. And I think, once again, it's like we were talking about before, I think the shuttle was a programmatic failure. I think the people running the program were morons. Make sense? I think the shuttle wasn't even cut down in its prime. It was set up to fail from the start. Post-Challenger, it was basically doomed it to be useless at what it was trying to do. Starship is going to fix that problem. So I think when a Starship fully comes back, super heavy and Starship, and it gets stacked again, I think that's when I'll let go. Because as far as I'm concerned, there was unfinished business with the shuttle. The shuttle was born of a time where we thought we were going to live and work in space. We're going to space and we're going to make it we're going to build cities in space, and we're going to build cities on the moon and stuff. And the shuttle is the avenue to do that. It never was realized because, once again, the people running it were idiots. Not idiots. They did what they had to do. And Starship is actually going to vindicate the shuttle in my mind. So the second that happens, yeah, you're probably right. I won't know what to say. But I'll be able to finally let go. Because like I said, the shuttle is unfinished business. It pisses me off seeing Atlantis in a museum. And Discovery and Endeavor. It pisses me off. Because you never even gave this thing the chance to flex its muscles, which really is annoying. But it is what it is. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. I hope you guys enjoyed this Space and Rocket review. I will see you guys here tomorrow for the last stream before I go on vacation. The week after, or next week, I'm going to be visiting Brimo's family for Thanksgiving. This year, it's Thanksgiving with Brimo's family and Christmas here. So this is basically my holiday break next week. And then through the holidays, I won't be here Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, maybe a couple of days after that, and New Year's. And that's it. So next week is my big vacation. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for one last stream. Tomorrow we got Satisfactory. We're going to finish that engine section, right? We're going to finish that, at least the outline of it. And then we have Flame Trench, and then Friday Night Racing is tomorrow in Assetto Corsa. We'll cap off the week with that. Yeah, Dean, I'm in. Let's do it. No more New York Tres Comas. I'm not doing that again, Hired. I've actually been not drinking a lot of beer as of late. It's funny, and I have a good time. Just haven't felt compelled to. My fridge is full of Yingling. It's full of Yingling and long drink. I just haven't really felt the need. Do you know what track we're racing? Imola. And then we have something else planned. I think there's a new Shepard launch tomorrow. Yeah, there's new Shepard at 10:30. No guarantees for being there, guys. I'll try to make it. We'll see what we can do. Life is getting better than alcohol. You know what, Tron? I didn't really drink a lot when I was a lot younger. I drank a lot in college, and then I drank a lot in my 20s. It's funny when you're like 25 and you go get sloshed and you drink Tres Comas and you find yourself like naked in a bathroom or something, and like the next day, like, oh man, what happened? Not speaking from experience. I am. That's funny when you're 26. It's not funny when you're 36. It's alcoholism when you're 36. Am I wrong? That's bad. It's not funny anymore, like, it's not funny anymore. You should stop. All right. Anyway, we got real there for a sec. Be real, son. The guy tried to kill my father. All right. Check liver. Yeah. Check liver light is turned. Yeah, maybe we need more blinker fluid. No, there you go, Eddie. You do what you got to do. Suddenly the hangovers last longer. Dude. Yeah, it's annoying when I drink one high noon and get a hangover the next day. I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not doing this anymore. This is stupid. Not the streaming, the drinking. So yeah, I haven't really been drinking much lately. At all. I don't need to do it. Yeah, just... It's cool. Just give me a Sprite or something. With Sprite cranberry, All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll try to be here for the new Shepard launch, and we'll see what happens from there. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. You want me to raid Rocket Guy? You want me to raid Rocket Guy? All right, fine. We'll raid Rocket Guy. All right. Web developers. All right. Yeah, okay. Go raid Rocket Guy. If you're on the YouTube side of things, yeah, bye. See you guys. Have a good night, and thank you.